G'day everyone, I hope you're doing very well. Sorry for the late start, my bad. I was a bit knackered, had to jump into a rig session for an ice bath. So bloody great to see you all charged up, ready for a big night, big Q&A. And let everyone roll in as let this room get filled up. It's great to see you all here. We've already got a few questions in the box, nice and quick. Mason, Antonio, and Vivian in nice and quick. Guys, I'm just going to give it another couple of minutes as we wait for everyone to finish rolling in to get into the room. I hope you're all doing great on this is what is it, September? It's the September Q&A. Great to hear you all. Oh, we've got James here joining us from Bali as well. Must be James Ibrahim. He's spent 3 weeks in Europe. He's probably bloody in Bali on the way back. Guys, quick note, quick update as well to Portfolio Tracker. Obviously, we had the chat when we were on the webinar last month. There's a few things that need to be updated in it. We've added in the valuation, a column there for valuation amount, val date, and then next date to val. So you guys can forecast and keep that in there. So when you're tracking your properties in the portfolio tracker in terms of when to get them revalued next, it makes it easy for you to track them, especially as you build a bigger portfolio. But even as you're starting out, and just as a reminder, guys, check with your broker. What's the actual policy from that specific lender that each property's with? What's the specific policy around when we can value it next? And then put that date in there. Don't expect your broker to remember. You put that date in there yourself. Keep on top of your tracker. And then when it's time to valid again, get it revalued, go again. Now, there's a couple of other fields in there, guys. We're going to do a little bit of tidying up with the portfolio tracker over the next couple of months. Over the next couple of weeks. So we might have a bit of an update for you for the next Q&A as well. Just tightening it up with a few things. Going to get rid of a couple of things, add a few things in as well, just to make it as valuable as possible. Beautiful. There was one other thing. I don't know if Jonathan is here from last week's Q&A or last month's Q&A as well. He was a chippy from SA. We're talking about getting his income up. I said I was very surprised in terms of what he was on. One of our clients is actually a builder down in SA. Mate, he said he can definitely get you on a higher paying job than what you're getting paid at the moment. So, mate, throw your details into the chat, into the Q&A or whatever. And, mate, we'll reach out to you and link you up with one of my mentoring clients that runs a building firm down there as well. I said you should definitely be on more than what you said you were too. So, mate, that's a nice little value add to kick us off. But guys, I'm going to jump straight into this. I've already got 12 questions in the Q&A box. Let's go. Mason, first up. Excuse me, guys. Hey, mate, currently at 3 properties and trying to decide when to offload our first property. We are stuck at the moment waiting for our other 2 APS deals to grow so we can strip the equity. I remember in an episode of your podcast about your early accumulation, you got Mount Gambier bargain. I certainly did, mate. Our first property is also in Mount Gambier. We bought in July 2024 for 410K and it's done 105K growth in 13 months. You've already stripped 60K in equity. Are you still in the area and what's your thoughts on when to, I'm guessing it's going to say like when to get out or when to exit. Let's quickly check he hasn't thrown anything else in a bit further down. I don't think he does. No, sweet. Okay, sweet. Man, the Mount, it's done well. It did well during COVID. It's done well sort of from a flow on off the back of that as well. Man, I feel like a final kick might potentially come off the back of what we're seeing with the grants that are going to come in starting next week from the 1st of October. What I probably would do is I don't have that much belief that it's going to have that much left in the tank. The deals that I did in Mount Gambier, I've had the added benefit of both capital growth and obviously I bought them from a cash flow perspective. So I bought them from a cash flow play. I bought unit blocks. I don't reckon we would have too much left in the tank. If that deal is holding you back, whether you exit it at the start of this year or potentially early next year, I think that would be a good play to do it, to clear that debt, get that cash back, and roll into some more deals as well. So I don't think it's going to shoot the lights out at, over the next 12, 24 months. I think there's better places to put your money. So whether you clear it at the end of this year or you clear it maybe at the start of next year, one or the other, I think, going through that exit piece could be a good play for you to get yourself set up, ready to go for another couple of deals. Hope that helps, big fella. Now, next up, guys, I've got Antonio. Hey, Sammy, thank you again for the Q&A. Very grateful to get so much access. Oh, mate, thank you. Awesome last episode with Marty Fox, top 1%. Beautiful. Okay, something interesting that came up was a 7-year cycle. I was wondering if what some of the changes you've seen yourself in the past 12 months? Is an interesting question. As well as how you were able to navigate and reposition yourself. Sorry, it's not a property question. Feel free to skip it if it doesn't fit the flow of conversation. Mate, it's an interesting conversation. Sorry, it's an interesting question. In all reality, I've gone through some massive changes in my life in the past 12 months. Um, how deep would I want to go into this? Wondering what has changed you've seen yourself for the past 12 months? I think I've grown a lot as both a person, as a business owner, as an individual, as an investor as well, with some different things too. Probably without going too deep into too crazy into it, it's funny the shift that actually probably has come almost bang on me being 35 years of age and the changes in the pretty much the change in life that has come through in the last sort of 6 to 12 months as well. It's been big. It's kind of crazy to think about the 7 years it was before. It was a transition from the old me into the me that you guys predominantly have seen over the last 7 to 8 years as well. With when Australian Property Scout was came into inception and everything that's really happened over the last 7 years. Most of you guys have a pretty decent idea of that. And then yeah, we've gone through a pretty big sort of transition, or I personally have gone through a pretty big transition this year as well so far. And it's funny because it's leading into something big that's coming, potentially coming into this year as well. That sort of I've been playing with for quite a while that I think is really going to help APS clients get on the stage in 2030, and it's going to really, I think, change APS in the way that we're going to be doing things. So yeah, and I think a lot of what has come through this year and happened to me this year has really instigated my thought pattern around that as well, and kind of, I don't know, made me realize what is important and what we're chasing out of this thing as well. So without going probably too deep, or too deep or too much further within that as well, it's been a big year. It's been a crazy year. But I'm fucking glad to be on the road, on the journey with all of you and helping all of you as well. And to really hammer one thing home, I know I got pretty fired up. I think it was in this week's or last week's podcast or something. Somewhere, the one that came out. This is what my goal and my real ambition is now with what I'm chasing in the next. We talk about this in the next 7 years. What is the big thing that I'm probably going to be chasing or going after? And realistically, it is going to be getting people on that stage for one in 2030. But then what happens beyond that as well? I can't think of a better goal or a better thing to be able to chase. I've achieved pretty much everything I've ever wanted to achieve personally in my life. It's like I'm not going to hang the boots up now. Now it's a chance for you guys and for you clients and for my staff and the people that are closest to me to get them on their journeys and like what a fucking legacy that would be. If that's my next 7 years or 14 years or whatever it is, what a legacy that would be to leave behind, to actually genuinely be able to do what so many people talk about wanting to do or supposedly wanting to do. What an actual legacy to leave to actually do that. And so I believe that's what my next 7 years are going to be all about. So yeah, it was a crazy thing, and it's funny that the lady that he spoke about in that, I actually did a session with her this week. I did a session with her 2 weeks ago as well, and it's crazy the way that she sort of the things that we've talked about and sort of what has positioned me with where I am right now with the people that I think I'm supposed to help. So it's cool. It's been, I don't know, weird, different, but that's where I believe the journey is now going. So. Antonio, thanks for a deep question to kick us off right at the start, mate. Bloody hell. But it's a good one. I hope that answers your question, mate. What a year, huh? What a fucking year. Vivian, next up. Hey, Sammy. Thanks for all the Q&As and potties. Keen to see yourself and the rest of the team at the boot camp. Likewise, Vivian, looking forward to seeing you there. I've got 2 questions for you tonight. What would be the expected net rental yield range for a commercial deal worth 1.5 mil when fully paid off? Okay, sweet. Expected net rental yield range for a commercial deal worth 1.5 mil. Okay, so the actual net return, I will put it that way. So net rental range, depending on a deal we would be doing at the moment, would be anywhere between 5.5% for something nice and blue chipped up to 6.5% to 7% if it was a bit of a higher risk sort of style of deal. 5.5% on a 1.5 mil, 55, 27.5, around about 82,500 per annum net. If it was a 5.5% net yielding property at that. If you're at a 7%, you'd be up at 105,000. So you'd be at 70K for the milli, another 35K for the half a milli that was there as well. So you'd be sitting somewhere in the range between about roughly between about 80 to 100,000 net if you had a 1.5 mil asset fully paid out. Is it worth getting a depreciation schedule for a bread and butter property purchased in a trust? Um, That question is probably better directed to your accountant. Obviously, within the depreciation schedule world, you can obviously check with them in terms of what they think you're going to be able to have to write off it. But also, and the reason I'm saying that and not answering it directly is because it depends on what that property is producing. Is it negative cash flow? Is it positive cash flow? How's that looking within it? And is it worth actually doing? And what is your overall group of properties doing? Because if you had a let's say you had a commercial deal that was sending it and it was 50 grand per annum net passive, and then all of your properties, let's say you had four bread and butters across four trusts and they're all running 10 grand a year negative. Well, you're running across your group of companies 10,000 net positive because your commercial deal is 50 grand a year passive. So if that was the case and you had that to offset, it could be worth doing. But again, guys, it's worth having a chat with your accountant first, seeing if it's actually relevant to you in your position, your situation. I know most of you guys work with our accountants. Have a chat with them. Is it worth doing in your situation? Make the call from there. Well, that's a big one. I'm gonna answer it because you're doing it from Bali. I just came back from Bali. I got a Bali glow, my man. James. Hey, Sammy. James joining you here from Bali poolside, sipping a mojito. Had a question for our next property purchases. 7 rentals across 5 titles. 2 bread and butters in regional Queensland. 1 in Vic. 1 cash flow regional WA and duplex. 1 cash flow regional Vic set of duplex. Portfolio value 2.8 mil with negative cash flow per annum of 32k. High income earner to 210k and partner earns about 60k per annum. With about 100k to drop into our next deal while still allowing for appropriate buffers. Would you recommend? What would you recommend as the next purchase? Cash flow or bread and butter? Thanks heaps. Looking forward to seeing you at the APS and the summit in November. Beautiful, mate. Looking forward to seeing you there. Okay, so first things first, man. 100 grand is probably not really enough to do a cash flow deal, regardless. That's probably the biggest thing to take into the equation. The next biggest thing is you guys combined earn $270,000, but what are your living expenses? Because if your living expenses are reasonably low, 32k per annum negative isn't that bad. If you're also factoring in, if we factor in depreciation, everything, we write it all off, does it net out at about 15 to 20? Again, not that bad if you're making 270 grand a year. Is there anything else we could potentially tweak to add a bit of cash flow into the portfolio with any of those existing deals? And they're the things I'd sort of throw in. Now, there's 2 ways this conversation could go. Yes, we can afford to hold it. It's not an issue. We're just getting your opinion. Bang, no worries. Let's use Let's use the 100,000. Go buy another bread and butter because ultimately you still got a small, like it's not a tiny portfolio, but you still got a smallish portfolio. The more equity plays that we can throw into it, the more equity growth we're going to get, and the larger we're going to be able to build it off the back of that. Now, if you are quite, if you're spending a fair bit. So that's my preference of option number 1. If you can still get the borrowing, which I'm presuming you can, I would just roll that into another bread and butter. That's option number 1 that I would go for. Option number 2, if you're feeling the pinch a little bit and you don't think you could do another deal that maybe is going to cost you a little bit to hold as well, then what you could do is potentially assess one of the bread and butters in regional Queensland. Has it gone up a significant amount in value? Is it a decent time to potentially exit that cycle? Should I be selling this property? Potentially banking $200,000. Now, 200 grand plus 100 grand is a different conversation on should I go and do a cash flow deal. You can go pick yourself up a pretty nice commercial deal for probably around about $1 million. Go dump it, 20, 25, 30% deposit in on that asset with, say, 300 grand. 300 grand, let's say 25% at most plus closings. And that would be producing a really solid net passive income as well. So that's where I probably would weigh it up. My preference, go the bread and butter, keep building that equity base, especially when you've still already got 2 cash flow deals in there already. I'm not sure what they're yielding, but yeah, I would look to continue building the equity base, especially at a time where we are in quite a rapid growth cycle from a growth perspective, equity growth perspective. If you know what you're doing, you know where you're buying as well. So that's how I would play it, and keep building that equity base from here if possible. Stephen McMillan, up the bullshot, up the steps. Yes, love it. Kat. Hey, Sammy. Just wanted to share some huge wins. Beautiful. Let's go. We started our first APS deal in Jan, and it's grown by over $70,000 since. We started the second APS deal 6 weeks ago, and it's grown over $45,000 since. We're now waiting for deal three, Team Lukey, and we're thinking and think we're about 2 weeks away. Stoked. Thank you, and see you at the boot camp. I bet you'll convince me to sell the primary residence then too. I love it. I love it, Kat. Massive congratulations and well done. And if you bring up a primary residence to me in a live strategy session, which I bloody hope you do, I definitely will rip you and make you sell the primary residence. I ain't joking. Bakes! Sammy, do you expect to see tightening of ability? Hang on, mate. Sammy, do you expect to see tightening of ability to lend under trust through scrutiny via APRA in the next 2 years? Okay. They're always playing around with these sorts of things. But at the end of the day, correct me if I'm wrong with this, but your second and third tier lenders don't actually fall under the control of APRA, Australian Prudential Regulatory Authority. Fuck, do they? Jesus. I've thrown myself under the bus here. I don't think they do. I think it's a major lenders. I'm going to come back to you on that one. Can you do me a favor? Can you shoot? 1 sec, guys. Got a mental blank, guys, but I'm almost certain that second and third tier lenders don't fall under APRA's scrutiny and APRA's control. And I'm pretty sure that they are exempt from all of that anyway, and that's how they can play that game. So I'm pretty sure. I'm going to quickly check with my broker because I've got a mental blank here exactly, but I'm pretty sure they don't fall under their ability. Hence why we are able to do what we're able to do. Because, yeah, they don't fall under mainstream lending and restrictions and scrutiny. Thank you, Bakes. I will come back to you on that as soon as we hear back. I'm pretty sure she should be on this anyway. Beautiful. Dylan. Oh, right, straight into it, mate. Hello, Dylan. 90K salary, 250K savings. I'm renting. Should I buy in personal name or trust first, and at what property prices? They didn't even say hello, Dylan. Hello to you, my friend. All right, 90K salary, 250K savings. I'm renting. 100% man, go straight into trust structures. 90K salary, it's not that much in the scheme of things right now. To be honest, like it's the average Australian income right now. Renting, beautiful. 250K savings, go into trusts. Depending on your broker, depending on your lending scenario, you're probably going to do a deal per trust, or maybe two deals in the first trust, equity release, strip, go to the next trust and move forward. It'll either be one property per trust or two properties, first trust, strip, next trust. Done. Banging through some questions, guys. Loving this. Morgan Ritchie. As the commercial property sector of the business grows, do you think APS would ever look at going international commercial? I'm aware this may be a stupid question as the name is Australian Property Scout. Lol. Morgan Ritchie, mate. It's funny, and it's not a stupid question. We literally were talking about this at lunch today. It's not a stupid question, no. Moving on. Yes, we are in firm chats around everything to do with going abroad specifically for commercial property. Thank you, Morgan. Guys, I don't know why I'm like white. I'm talking like a weirdo tonight. I'm going to jump over to the question log of questions that were sent in. I don't know why there's an absolute mammoth sitting there for me, first one. But, oh, here we go. It's Wern. He got the big shout out last week. Wern. Okay, sweet. Wern on track, my friend. Hey, Sam. Hope you've been well, mate. I have a question for you regarding insurance. What do you use to estimate how much to build cover to insure? I find that different insurance companies' estimates can vary significantly, even though all platforms are operated by some insurer. My other question is about strategy. I've sold one property in Gozzies. Yes, well done, mate. There's the one we gave you the big shout out for and gave him the other bloke. I've sold one property in Gosnells on first name. I have about 200K to redeploy now. However, my broker has told me that I can't release equity. Oh, didn't we ask who his broker was? I think he sent it to me. Hang on a second. However, it doesn't matter if it is a 400K, 700K property. Selling my only other property in Parmelia under person won't solve the issue, and small interest rate drops won't change the situation as well. How's the best way I can use 200K, move things around portfolio to ensure I keep moving forward? Didn't I go through this question last week? Last month?
Go through it because you wanted to know who his broker was.
No worries. Hope everyone just heard Kelly then because you weren't muted. I'm surprised by that. I'm very surprised by that, mate. What I'm going to do, because I feel like I went through that question last month, I'm going to call you after this and then find out who your broker is, call your broker, see what the actual problem is, and then I'm going to use this as a case study example next week, next month. I know I keep saying next week. Next month, I'm going to use this as a case study and we can all learn from it because you should be able to. Thank you, Wern. Next up, Stevo. Hey, Sammy, with APRA saying something. Okay, we're using some. Okay, so it's kind of the same question as before. Do we have the answer from the broker? Well, hang on one sec. Oh, she wants to be muted now. Hang on a sec. This is all fun and games tonight. Yeah, guys, we're still waiting to hear back. I've phoned a friend, but I'm on hold. Sweet. Okay. Steve, I'm going to leave your question until we have the confirmation from the broker. By the way, guys, I'm not drunk. I think it must be the ice bath's gotten to me tonight. I went for a quick rig sesh. I think the ice bath's brought out the best in me. Here we go. So you had a big year. Benny boy, what comes into consideration when working out if a property is running positive or negative, and how is the value worked out? Are things like interest paid on loan taken into consideration? Okay, so what comes into consideration when working out if a property is running positive or negative? Okay, so whether the property is running positive or negative, it's everything involved with what that property costs to run and income. So every cost going out, all the money coming in minus all the costs going out gives you a net figure. All the costs in, let's say you've got 20,000 a year coming in, but you've got $25,000 a year going out. You are net $5,000 negative. Everything's taken into account when you're talking about something positive or negative. The one difference is after tax time. So I don't know the difference. They talk about positive cash flow and positive gearing. I think positive gearing is post tax time. Once you get your tax back and you've run your depreciation report and you've gotten your tax back, let's say that property was running $5,000 a year negative, plus we had $5,000 worth of depreciation, and you're sitting in the 35-cent tax bracket. So you got $3,500 back from the five and the five, which made the 10. You get $3,500 back from the government, from the tax. So now you've got $3,500 back. Now that property only cost you $1,500 per annum net negative. So whichever one it is around that. But yes, I always used to factor that into my numbers. And what you can always do as well is your accountant can always set up a PAYG tax variation on your that you give to your boss, and your boss can throw that in, and they actually vary how much tax. So you vary your PAYG tax that your employer pays to the ATO every week, every month, or whatever. That gets varied and takes into account your forecasted net loss, and then effectively you get paid more, and less goes to the ATO, and you get paid more, but you just don't get as big a check back at the end of the month. Sorry, at the end of financial year. So that can definitely be done if you're struggling a bit with cash flow, guys. How's the value worked out? When you value a property, so like we typically go off comparable sales that are like very like comparable sales, so almost exactly the same style of sales. Let's say you bought something, a year ago for 500 grand, and now all the comparable properties are now worth $600,000. So let's say it was a 4 bed, 2 bath, 2 garage home, 200 square meter home on a 600 square meter block, and there's 5 of those have sold within a 500-meter proximity, and they've all sold in the realm of 580 to 620,000. Your value is probably in the realm of $600,000, unless you're more in line with the top end or the bottom end or whatever. But your value is more than likely $600,000 in that scenario. Thank you, Ben. All right, sweet guys. Moving on. I've got one here from Kelly Irvine. Hey Sammy, I thought I heard an SOP. It's not really. She just hasn't got the name, and that's a producer. Anyway, hey Sammy, I thought I heard an SOP that you can't/shouldn't have resi and commercial property within the same trust. Was the reason? Oh, what was the reason for this? If you sell resi properties that you have within a trust and the trust is empty, I assume that is then okay for that trust to be used for more IPs going forward. Can you use empty trust then buy commercial cash flow property? Yes, for sure. There's a multitude of reasons why I don't like to mix commercial and resi in the same trust. The caveat on this, and I have done this after the fact, so I know I've said that before. There was a few different sort of taxation things that were a little bit unclear a couple of years ago as well that have now been cleared up. That does make it a little bit more okay to buy resi properties in the same trust as commercial. If you're planning to exit those planning on exiting the residential deals within the next, let's say, 12, 24, 36 months. Let's say in the next 3 years max, you're going to sell those resi properties. I'm okay with that. To have them in the same trust. If you really want to, and you know, whatever. If you really want to, you can. I prefer to keep a degree of separation. For one, there's risk associated with both style of assets. But when you have commercial properties and commercial tenants, I personally just like to isolate them in their own trust, in their own company. That is arm's length from everything else that I do. Arm's length from me, arm's length from my businesses, arm's length from my other properties. I just like to keep everything isolated within one structure. That's because there's people there that could have liability that are working on your land, that are running businesses from your land, everything to do with that. So I personally just like to keep them separate from that. There used to be a GST component that was GST on income component that was a bit of a red flag back in the day. That it has been patched up, and that no longer is an issue. But yeah, that's that's the reason why I like to do it. But if you did have a trust that has you had resi properties in it, yes, you definitely can put a commercial deal in it after the fact as well. Anything to do with this stuff, though, guys, especially if you're working with my accountants or the accountants that are in obviously within School of Property as well, Carnegie, they're my accountants. Yeah, I'll just run any questions past them that comes to any of this stuff from an accounting side, just to make sure that they're all over your situation, and you've got all your T's crossed and your I's dotted, or whatever the hell the saying is. Good stuff. We've got to come back to one. Supposedly that was from Anon. Anyway, guys, moving on. We're going to jump back into the Q&A box. Whoa, questions are flying in. All right, guys, I got a question here from Rachel Tomo. bought a unit in WWE, in early 2024 for 400 grand. It's now worth around $550,000 to $570,000. Well done. I don't need to sell, but is now the right time to exit before the market potentially comes backwards? It's a funny thing. Been assessing WA a lot just lately, and it's definitely showing some really, really good signs and some really promising positions within the market. It depends if that's holding you back. You say, I don't need to sell. If you don't need to sell yet, Rachel, I probably would hang on a little bit longer. The market was starting to retract a little bit. It has bottomed out and sort of like, it's bottomed out now and sort of gotten back to equilibrium. It kind of hit a high point, it dipped a little bit, and then it's sort of come back a little bit and sitting there right now. If you don't need to sell it, I'll probably hang on for the next 6 months and see what the market does with the new grants coming in. It's going to push the bottom end of the market. It's going to give the bottom end of the market a little bit of a kick. Maybe reassess it at the start of next year. That would be my advice, and maybe see what the momentum's like at the start of next year as well. If the momentum's still good and stock's still low, I'll potentially hold it longer. If momentum feels like it's waning again, then maybe clip it. But feel free to bring that question up again in early 2026. All right, Jacob. So many questions about markets tonight. Jacob, hey Sam, how is the North Queensland market looking? Do you think the peak could be on its way? Thanks, mate. Dude, there's so many markets within the North Queensland market. Obviously, so North Queensland, guys, obviously, Rocky, Mackay, Gladstone, Townie, Cairns, all the rest of the sort of thing. The market is actually still pumping pretty hard. I thought it would have calmed down a bit. I thought it would have cooled off a bit. It's still running pretty hard. Obviously, as most of you know, I did a bit of consolidation across my portfolio. I did a bit of hedging. Some of my stuff in North Queensland, I decided to offload in the last couple of months, just going towards the primary residence acquisition. And they sold very quickly. Like, they sold within a week. One of them sold. Well, one of them took 2 to 3 weeks to sell. The other sold within, a week. So the market's still pretty hot. Jacob, in all honesty, man, it really depends whereabouts in North Queensland you're looking at. To really sort of make an assessment around that as well. But most of it's still running pretty good at the moment, guys. The other thing I would throw in is I honestly believe a lot of the grants are going to help a lot of the regional markets that are sub $600,000 at the moment keep having a bit of a run because of the price point and where it's at. It's gonna kick a lot of like first home buyers potentially into the marketplace. So it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting to see sort of how that plays out. If you don't need to sell, guys, I'd probably hang on a little bit for the next probably 1 to 2 quarters. Just see what happens in the market and then make a decision after that. If a property's holding you back, I would still be okay to clip it. Maybe literally it starts next week, so I would definitely be okay to clip it. But if you don't need to sell it, I probably would be giving things, another 3 to 6 months sort of thing to see how it plays out, see where it goes, in the new year, and then make a call from there. That pretty much goes for everywhere across the board, guys, up to those bottom end of those price points of the new grants. I think we will see a little bit of heat coming in off it, and even like the heat will come in off it, but then the heat will come in more strongly off the anticipated heat from it, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like the Olympics. Like everyone's going crazy for the fucking Olympics in Brisbane, but they're just going crazy. It's still 7 8 years away. So it's a lot of the massive infrastructure projects haven't even started yet, but it's the anticipation and similar to what is happening with that as well. So that in itself can be a really interesting thing and a really important thing to understand, guys, with market movements and exactly things like this. And I think holding off a little bit longer could end up with a little bit more cash in the bank. Oh shit! Here we go. All right, Scotty Flynn. Hey Sam, I've just signed up with you guys and going through the process of my first deal. Once I've obtained pre-approval, how long roughly it would take for you guys to come up with a deal? Mate, it depends on what sort of deal you're looking at the moment. I know a lot of clients are understanding that we're obviously doing units at the moment, turning unit deals around very quickly. They're sub $500,000 deals in high growth locations. We've got different price pointed deals across foundationals and trademarks. Foundationals at the moment are being sourced quite quickly. We also have cleared, and when I say quite quickly, guys, I'm not going to shoot myself or the team in the foot here. I'm going to estimate, I think foundationals are taking about 10 to 12 weeks. I believe trademarks are down to about 16 weeks, depending on price point. We've been focusing very heavily on getting those numbers down and not signing new clients on too much. So like we've been controlling that as much as we can, distributing the price points to get those wait times down. So Scotty Flynn, it depends on what you're looking at right now, mate. Fastest product there is obviously a trademark unit purchase. Then it'd be foundational houses, and then which they're all sort of sitting 4 weeks apart from each other as well. So I hope that answers your question, mate. Okay, sweet. Nikhil. Hey Sammy, thanks for the 2 deals you just sourced for us. They're in our first trust. What's the fastest way to get the trust profitable, and how long does it need to be profitable before the accountant signs off? Also, if I need to use the funds from the offset in trust 1 that made the trust profitable to pay for deposits in trust 2, is there a way to optimize that process? Okay, mate. So typically, and this is the cool thing right now, is there are 2 lenders that within trust will allow you to do letters of self-declaration, so you don't actually need the accountant's letter. Now, again, guys, this isn't financial advice. Speak to your financial advisor, speak to your broker before making any decisions around this sort of stuff. But that being said, there are 2 lenders right now that I have used personally in my portfolio that will allow you to do a letter of self-declaration, so you actually don't need to show that trust is trading profitably. Now, once you get beyond that, yes, you will. But for now, there is the ability to bypass that for this stage of the process and effectively keep scaling the portfolio, keep building it without needing to show the profitability. That answers your question. Bosco. G'day, Sammy. This isn't a question, but my 3-year-old says, hi, Sammy. G'day, 3-year-old. You didn't even say the name, Bosco. I can't even say. Oh. G'day, Bosco Jr. Beautiful. All right, guys. I've got an answer. Is that what you were waving at me? I think I said she wants me to mute her. All right, guys. I've got a question. I've got an answer. Yeah, all right. So the question earlier, actually, and I'll answer Steve's question here. Someone else asked something similar. I can't remember exactly what it was. Steve, hey, Sammy, with APRA starting to tightening on brokers and banks looking to restrict trust borrowing, do you think it will become a lot harder to get accountants' letters approved by lenders? Could this push us more towards relying on third-tier lenders for future purchases? Do you see a strategy eventually becoming obsolete, similar to how low-doc lending phased out back in the day? Mate, low-doc lending is still very much alive and well. Low doc, no doc lending. Definitely, man. I did fucking shitloads of it during COVID. I know clients are still doing it now. So the answer from the broker was correct. Second and third tier lenders aren't covered under APRA. So yeah, they're effectively covered under ASIC. They're not covered under APRA. So APRA covers the mainstream lenders. They cover banks. So they don't cover. Yeah, actually, I think that's the difference, guys. APRA covers banks. They don't cover lower tier lenders. They don't cover, I believe it's like institutions or credit union, whatever that difference is. They cover banks. So yeah, your second and third tier lenders aren't covered under APRA. So yes, your bigger lenders might become phased out over time, but like unless they go through a serious change within this, and you know what, guys, I can't really see it happening unless the market, unless we go through a market crash. Why? Why would they? Well, they're not. They aren't governed by like what's best for first home buyers in Australia. They're governed by like even APRA is Australian Prudential Regulating Authority. They just want prudent lending. So yes, obviously they don't want you to go crazy, but for the most part, most people don't understand half the shit that we do that allows them to keep going unlocking, unlocking, unlocking. Just because people are getting borrowing and trust, it doesn't mean that most people know how to properly unlock it and keep pushing forward as well. All banks still have their serviceability caps that they need to be able to do as well. And just remember that, like, even if, like, okay, so you got your two that are your non-conforming letters of self-declaration, but just remember that every other bank still needs to see you show those trusts trading profitably before they lend you in another trust. So it's not like it's not like it's limitless lending to a point of like absolute stupidity. And if it was, there'd be more people going under, which we aren't seeing. And considering the last like 3 years, interest rates were pretty bloody high. From 2022 to 2024, interest rates were in the sevens for almost everyone. But like you didn't hear of that many people going under, that many people going bankrupt, right? You heard of a lot of people making a lot of money. So they're more concerned about, yeah, like are people actually going under and having serious problems, serious struggles with this? And obviously we're not seeing that across the board. So I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do it. I know there's been a lot of talk, a lot of chatter. There was some current affair or something that was on as well. I think it was last night or something was talking about it too. But look, in all reality, unless people are actually, losing money or going under, like actually going into bankruptcy for taking on more debt than they should, then I don't think it's going to be, really stop too much from that perspective. All right, guys. I've got someone up here next week and mentioned a couple of suburbs from a APS perspective, so I'm not going to put the question up. But hey, Sam, our goal is 200K. This is from Katie. Hey, Sam, our goal is 200K passive and a primary residence of 1.5 to 2 mil. Current portfolio in personal name. Wangaratta, 370K purchase, debt 300, 175, blah, 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 blah. And in my name, and in my name, blah, blah. Armstrong Creek, primary residence, 680K purchase, 540K debt. Okay, sweet. In a trust, IP2. Yeah, what would you do next? All right, Katie, it kind of depends. Like, are you stuck or are you good to keep moving forward? 100K in savings, offsetting, so only paying interest of 440K. Look, Katie, it really comes down to like, are you stuck are you stuck with borrowing at the moment? Or are you sweet? Are there any issues from cash flow? I think the biggest thing that I'm looking at here from your perspective is, you made 100K on the deal that we did with you. You got 100K sitting in offset, and then there's probably not that much sitting there on that first deal in Wangaratta as well. What I probably would do is just keep looking to build the equity base until it becomes an actual problem for you to be able to continue to acquire and move forward from a servicing perspective. I will continue to build the equity base. You don't have that much, like you do, but you don't have that much yet. What like at the moment you're sitting at 600K, so you're sitting at 1.3 mil plus it's like almost you're sitting at sub $2 million property portfolio, sub $2 million total value. What we want to try and do is pump those numbers up. Like, can we get a high $1 million portfolio at 1.8 mil? How quickly can we get that to how quickly can you add another 1, 2, 3, 4 properties in? Like next year, could we take that from a 1.8? Could we double that to a 3.5 mil portfolio? For me, I would be trying to build your equity base as big as possible, as quickly as possible, because we want to ramp that equity position. I'll leave the primary residence to the end, like your dream primary residence of 1.5 to 2 mil. You're going to need to sell Wangaratta, or you're going to need to sell your own personal property at some point pretty soon as well, because like there's that's going to be an anchor for you in the journey moving forward. But so's Wangaratta, having that in your personal name too. So maybe that's an easy one to clip first to keep moving forward. But those are the deals you're going to have to look at. At some point, you're going to need to put the axe through them to achieve the ultimate goal of the 1.5 to 2 mil primary residence with the 200K passive. But you need to keep building that equity base and keep moving forward. And what I would do is maybe have a good chat with your strategist around, well, what if we looked at, what are the moves we could potentially put into place right now, heading into the end of 2025 that we could use as a springboard to launch hard in 2026. And maybe, could we, how do we scale this thing to a $3-4 million portfolio in 2026? That's what I would be having a good look at. All right, sweet. Jason, you have previously mentioned updating school of property how-to guide. Considering the current pricing in the market is still happening, so as additional category, can you add a step-by-step guide for someone with a PPOR? Step-by-step guide for someone with a PPOR. Man, the issue with a step-by-step guide on a PPOR is like situationally, like are we talking KD above with a 680K, primary residence, or are we talking something? Yeah, are we talking 700? Are we talking 1.5 mil? Are we talking 2.5 mil? 5 mil? Like what's the value? What's the debt? Yeah, there's just so many sort of things to sort of try and factor into the equation with that. I'm definitely updating the how-to guide considering the current pricing. We're mapping that out today as well, so we'll have that done for you guys before the next webinar. But yeah, so definitely updating that, guys, with the step-by-step guide for something like the PPOR. If anyone actually wants that, maybe send through like maybe a scenario or two. And if someone, yeah, if we get enough requests, if enough people want me to do it, send it through. My honest opinion is not doing it. Not doing a primary residence unless you're living in your dream primary residence and you want to debt reduce it. That's a different story. If you're not, my strategy would be rent vesting, and I think that's going to be a significantly better vehicle and significantly better, weapon in the arsenal to get you to your ultimate goals as well. But thank you, Jason. All right, sweet. Okay, sweet. Heath and Paige. This is a good question. Heath and Page, hey Sammy, we got Valves on our two recent APS deals back, and one came up a bit short. No sweat, it happens. The growth is coming. Not financial advice, but personally, would you shop around the other banks to potentially find that equity to pull and go for a third deal sooner? Cheers, mate. Guys, it always sort of depends, right, on how realistic you are with time frames, and then also how realistic you are potentially with valuations as well. Now, let's say we settled on it, and like with 3 months went past and we didn't have enough to pull out to do another deal. I would definitely wait for a 6 month window. Actually, it kind of really depends, because have you bought it at a 80% or a 90% LVR? Because if you bought it at the 88-90% LVR, and then you're going to have to refi that to another lender, you're going to give up that LMI component that you paid at the very start. Whereas if you keep it with them and then just do a top-up loan, you only need to do a top-up of LMI. But if you're at 80% LVR and then let's say you go 80% with CBA and they've given you a shit val, and then you go St. George at 80% LVR will give me another 100 grand because you haven't paid LMI. Yeah, I probably would swap it. If it's not going to affect you from a creative lending perspective, I probably would do the refi. But if I was at 90, if I was at 90 and they gave me another 100 grand, like especially at the start, yeah, I probably would jump and cop the double LMI, but then go do another deal. Yeah, realistically, you could probably even do it if you'd gone at 90, you could go at you could even potentially swap over at 80, and that might still give you 50, 60, which might get you with a top up into another deal. So you only paid the LMI once. There's a few different things to sort of factor into the equation there, but that's how I would sort of look at it. Yeah, I would sort of base it. I would give it a bit of time and then sort of base that situation on that. Start off strong, guys. I'm bloody losing my voice already. Excuse me. Morgan, she's back. My mate. From Corey. Do you think the first-time buyers coming in from 1st of October is a clever way the government is utilizing to entice developers to come into the market to increase supply, as there is money in it for them again? Under the guise it is to help first-time buyers so they don't lose votes. Do you think this will have any significant impact on supply? I think in all reality, prices have to move before developers will probably come back to the table properly. because build prices have increased so much, and it kind of depends because I don't think it's a smart thing for the government to have done because every time we see the government interject in the housing market, we see price increases and we see build price increases. Good for us, not good for first time buyers, not good for anyone else really. Good for asset owners, because it does put a demand under it. So look, the biggest issue with it is like, I mean, they do see enough of price growth, developers that already own land, yes, it may make sense for some of them to now come back through to market as well. But it sort of depends where the trade prices grow as a result of it as well. So there's a lot of sort of things that really could stem in and off the back of this too. So it'll just really sort of depend on yeah, how that plays out from a growth perspective, market growth perspective as well. Sweet. Okay, sweet. I'm just gonna answer this because it's funny. Kevlar, I've just been put into a secret source location. Love the video info piece. Is this going to be the Holy Trinity on the HSP? Chili, barbie, the halal snack pack, the chili barbecue and garlic sauce for growth in the next few months or years before it starts to run. First of many, I hope, for the bulletproof SMSF portfolio, mate. I'm sure it will. Don't forget a bit of khabuli and hummus on there as well, mate. It'll send. It'll send. We already know it will. All right, beautiful. Katie's back. She's doubling up. Cheeky girl. Following on from my question earlier, she earns 108K annually. Sammy is on maternity leave. She has a return to work letter, but we told our broker that Sammy won't return to the workforce at the end of the year. She got a job close to where we live. Current PPO on the market. Okay, sweet. Live in Wonga house where our mortgage will be around 350K. Okay, sweet. So you've got that primary residence on the market. Okay, so I got to go back to the previous question. Katie and Sammy, I would still definitely focus on an equity play initially. I think we need to build that equity base out. I would be trying to. It's like I always talk about, right? Like you have one property at X amount or two properties or whatever. Like let's say $1 million worth combined. Well, how quickly can we scale? Like you guys are at the 1 point circa 8-9 million. You go back by 700. Let's say we go back to 1.1, 1.2 million. How quickly can we actually scale that properly in the correct markets to get you to $3.5, $4 million? Like, can we do it by the end of next year? What levers do we need to pull? How hard can we push? Is there anything else? Like, realistically, you got 350K, or your mortgage will be around 350K. Sorry, $300. Sorry, guys, $350 a week on the Wangaratta house. If you sell that, like how much capital is within that you might be able to then properly send the next phase. Too. So like it's kind of because you had 100 grand sitting in offset, plus obviously you clear about 100 grand, plus 100 grand in the house that we got free up in. So you know what I mean? Like I'm just thinking about it now. You've probably got enough to deploy once you sell your own home. You've probably got enough there to deploy to actually be able to, obviously probably knock over two more deals. And then I probably would be having a look at Wangaratta or even potentially having a look at Wangaratta now because that's a huge amount of extra cash to properly send to the next phase in the portfolio too. So a lot of things to sort of toss up and consider there, but a really good position with a lot of good options. First step could be just sell the primary residence, go the double, and then come back, or you could throw it on the table right now. We got a question from Jordan's iPhone. I don't know why Jordan isn't sending this in, but his iPhone must be AI driven. I've got a question from Jordan's iPhone. Simple ways to keep track of the property portfolio in regards to release equity, where it's going or being spent, bills, and whatever else that comes with investing. Keen to avoid the headache next tax time. Thanks, legend to the moon. All right, beautiful. Mate, in all reality, I've never tracked this that closely. If I pull equity, I don't spend it on anything else but investing stuff. And so if you're pulling equity from a property that's within trust, you could always dump it in the offset of that property. Or sorry, have it sitting there in the offset of that property. And if you do anything with it, if you need to use it, and let's say that offset isn't tappable or whatever, you can't use that as an everyday sort of account. You can pull 5 grand out of that, go put it in the everyday account that would be sitting, against that trust structure, and everything going in and out of it from that perspective. And it's a very, very clear paper trail of being dumped into that account where everything's sort of going in and out for an investing perspective, and nothing else is being touched. That's how I would do it. That's how I always used to do it. Because when your portfolio starts getting big, you try and start tracking that stuff real technically, like to the dollar. It's gonna be an absolute head bomb. She's got me today. All right, Morgan Ritchie, she's back, my mate. Hey Sam, I've been waiting 7 days for a property. How much longer? Kidding. I'm trying to decrease the amount of time it takes us to accumulate deposits. I've spoken with the Queensland government regarding paying stamp duty over time or delaying it. They said yes and sent me a form. You've seen a form. QROTA4 successfully implemented to pay stamp duty back over time. So, do any other states have this other than Queensland? Morgan, what I would suggest you do first of all is I would speak to your broker to make sure that is not a debt that is going to be listed against your name. I have a feeling that it probably would be, and I personally would not be a fan of having a debt against the government, state or federal or otherwise, listed against me. So I would just double check that with your broker because I feel like that will be listed as a debt and a liability against you, and you might kind of double whammy yourself, like shoot yourself in the foot with that as well. So look, if you can, cool. But I'd just be a little bit wary of it from that perspective. Thank you, Morgan. Yeah, sweet. Okay, cool. Jared, next up. Hey, mate, first APS deal is settling soon. Yay. It's in a trust and current projections. The trust won't be positive. Thoughts on a cheapie like Broken Hill House or something for 150K with high yield that would bring in positive extra $100 a week to make trust profitable? No, that's a hard no. Mate, I looked at Broken Hill houses about 10 years ago, and they were around about the same money. And mate, it's just you think you're gonna make $100 a week, but man, like $100 a week is 5 grand a year, right? Those houses are about 100 years old. Do you think a 100-year-old house is going to have at least 5 grand a year in maintenance? I think that's I know where your head's at, mate. I thought that I'm going to guess that you're 24 years of age, and I reckon at 24 years of age, maybe 23 years of age, because I reckon that's the same age that I was when I thought about it as well. I like where your head's at. It's not the right call. What I'm going to say is we've probably run through this a couple of times now already in today's session as well. First deal, brother. First trust. You've got your two lenders now that are letters of self-declaration. May go for that. Don't worry about the fact the trust isn't trading profitably right now. Focus on building that equity base. Get those next couple of deals in there. Don't waste your time on a Broken Hill house. Yeah, man. Just I know a lot of people that have cried from a Broken Hill property. So let's move on from that one. Where's Jimmy staying? From Zoom user. Where's Jimmy staying? I'm at the Grand Hyatt. There's a pina colada waiting for him. Pina coladas, mojitos. Where's the margaritas? Where's my invite? Zoom user. All right, moving on. Bosco, he's back. Hey, Sammy. Love to know how you would attack my situation. Currently, I'm the only moneymaker in my house. What the 3-year-old man? He sounds like he's got a bit going on. Wife is looking for a part-time job without any luck. Has had quite a few interviews. I feel like you might be shopping for a job. Will's only got jobs in carpentry sectors, but I'll keep the ear out if someone else writes in something about it. All right. I'm on my own. I can buy a 500 to 500K property in a trust. You mean $500 to 500K? That's a big spread. In a trust and a 500K property in an SMSF. If my wife lands a job, we can get a 60 to 700K property and similar in an SMSF. Would you hold off and wait for her to get a job or jump on now and get what we can? I'm keen for jumping in now. Jump in now, Bosco. Done. In all reality, yeah, jump in now, do a 500K deal in both, man. All good. Let's go. George. By the way, guys, just as a bit of clarity around that too, opening up new markets, new asset types, new this, new that. We're doing deals across the board, a lot of different ranges. Closed group, I can talk about this openly. Speak to strategists about deals at different price points now. We've opened a lot up, guys, and there's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good markets that we're buying in right now very actively. We don't need to do deals right now, specifically at 7 to 750K budgets. So we've trimmed those back in very recent times. Feel free to reach out to your strategist, have a chat about what may be possible for you. Georgie boy, next up. All right, guys, I'm going to knock over 2 more here, and then I'll jump back into the Q&A spreadsheet. Hey, Sammy, our Parmelia lease ends early Jan. Our APS broker has said once we sell, then we can get 2 pre-approvals in trust 2. Sales agents gave me appraisals last month. Have updated me. The market is going absolutely bonkers right now. Place is selling almost 100K over asking. If you're in my position, would you sell now for low to mid 6s tenanted or wait until the lease ends and go to market Jan, Feb? First of all, my friend, cheers, George. I would not sell ever in January. This is what I'm talking about, guys. Some of these bottom end markets, these bottom end periods at the moment, bottom end LGAs at the moment in these sorts of areas, they're going bananas, they're going bonkers, as George is saying here, because of that demand or the impending demand that they're going to see from, yeah, I think what these grants are going to come in and do as well. As brokers say, once we sell, we can get super approvals in Trust 2. I'm presuming you need to sell to continue to move forward. There's one or two things you could do. You could carry it until early November, Georgie boy, and see what the agents are saying at that point in time, and see where it's sort of sitting, see if you see another jump. And if you get another jump, and then you're comfortable at where you could exit out at, potentially exit. The alternative, if you don't sell early November, you hold until mid-February and you list then. It can have a two-pronged effect. If not much comes to market over Christmas, January, and stock is tight and not much comes to market, and demand stays really strong, there's a chance that when you list in, let's say, late Feb, let's say sometime in Feb, right? Let's say late Feb. There's a chance that it could go for another jump at that period of time, which I think is quite possible. The other side of the coin is if people are holding out and they get to that point, and then a lot of people sort of flood in with stock, especially later in the year, and then people don't buy over that period of time, it could dip. My gut feel is probably on the former. The one caveat is obviously repositioning into other markets and the time frame that could take. Because the only issue we're talking about selling at the end of Feb, start of March, let's say Feb, is we're talking 6 months away from now before you buy any more deals. So that doesn't affect me. I'm thinking about you for the portfolio. If it's going absolutely bananas, going bonkers, I personally would assess it in November. Have a think. I think we're going to do a webinar on the 30th of October. Is it 30th of October? I think we've got a webinar 30th of October. Georgie boy, I would hang out and I would speak to the agents on the couple of days before the webinar in the 30th of October. And then I would have your question ready and I would copy it and then I would paste it straight into the chat bot as soon as we open the Q&A on the 30th of October. Let me know what the market's doing and I'll give you my thoughts then as well. And we'll make a call from there. Thank you, Georgie boy. Well done, man. I'm glad the market's gone ballistic for you as well. How good. Jacob Smith, big lad. Love your work. Love your work, mate. For someone who earns around 150K a year, currently sitting on 3 bread and butters at around 2.5 to 3 grand negative per month, mortgage, insurance, rates, etc. How many bread and butters would you look at obtaining before you go for a cash flow, assuming commercial deal? How many commercials does 150K passive a year look like? Cheers. Love your work. All right, mate. So you do a deal at circa $1 million. Let's say 1 to 1.2 mil. Let's say the 1.2 mil's got about 6% net, the 1 mil's got about 7% net, or somewhere in the middle of that the 1 to 1.25 mil between a 6 to 7% net return. Two of those deals get you 150K per annum net passive. One deal, obviously around about that 1.2 is going to be around about $72,000 a year. One deal at say 7% at a mil is going to be 70. So two of those deals, give or take, between sort of 1 to 1.3 million is going to give you 150K net passive. Alternatively, our deal at a 6% at about 2.5 mil gives you that as well. But I feel like with where you're at right now, it'll be a breakup of, let's say, our deal, let's say circa $1 million, and then another deal at circa 1.5 mil, which will give you that combined net value around about 2.5 mil. That'll give you that with circa 6 or 7% net return, man, is going to give you your 150K net passive. Now, I think it depends, man, on what you can carry, because I'm presuming you're a big fella, you probably carry a bit, but it depends on your lifestyle, mate. Because the more equity plays, the more bread and butter deals, the more equity plays that you can accumulate and grow, as we've said multiple times in this as well, right? The faster that you're going to be able to actually get to the equity position that's going to be able to enable you to acquire 2.5 mil worth of commercial asset that is gonna net you that amount of time when we go through debt reduction. That being said, if it gets too far and you can't actually afford to hold it anymore, then potentially the next bread and butter deal that reaches the peak in its cycle, you might instead actually look to sell that off, use the 250, 300K that comes from the sale of that property, and then go park that into a commercial asset. And that might be the next deal that you pick up. And you might wipe out one of your most negative properties and then pick up something that's quite positive. So you might take, the portfolio, you might eliminate something that's running 10, 15 grand a year negative and then add something in that's running 10, 15 grand a year positive, meaning you're going to give yourself a net balanced return, a net return back into the portfolio, somewhere between 20 to 30K, which means you might go pretty close to eliminating how negative your portfolio currently is. I don't think that's a bad game plan. I don't like it though if it means you got to sit out for the next 6 to 12 months waiting for something to reach the peak of its cycle. What I personally would prefer you did was equity release maybe enough for another one or two, pick another one or two deals up. Then when, say, one or two of the current 3 bread and butters are ready to exit, hopefully in the next 12 months, we exit at that time and then acquire that commercial. So I think it really depends on what you've got in your portfolio right now, what may potentially be reaching a peak in the cycle, and then or in what sort of time frame, and then making a decision around that as well. Like if you had a property like Georgie before us here in Parmelia in Southern Perth, something like that, it could be a decent time to go, you know what, market's running ballistic, maybe we offload one of these, maybe potentially, early next year we look to offload one of the regional Queensland if I got something like that. And maybe partner up. I'm netting 400 grand here, so I could go pick another bread and butter up. Yeah, at the same time as go pick up a commercial as well, something like that, right? So obviously, not knowing your exact position, man, I don't know in terms of where those properties are makes it a little bit harder. But yeah, that's probably how I would pretty much look at it in relation to current cash flow position versus continuing to build the portfolio as well. Hope that helps, mate. All right, sweet. I'm going to jump back into the chat bot here for a second, guys, for the question log. I feel like we've smashed heaps of questions. Holy shit. We are hammering it, guys. We are 26 questions through in the Q&A box. A little over an hour in. Plus, we've smashed 4 questions. Guys, we're over 30 questions in already. How good. This may be a record. Here we go. Harry, let's go. Big Harry Potter. Hey, Sammy, last month you touched on cash flow deals not being a thing in the current market. Do you foresee cash flow deals still being part of your strategy in the future? Have cash flow deals been substituted for commercial deals, and this is why you have pivoted in the business direction? Signed contract yesterday, my first APS deal, which my wife and I are super pumped about. Cheers, mate. Cheers, Harry. Look, in the current market, yes. No. Yes. No, we aren't doing residential cash flow deals anymore in the current marketplace. That being said, if an occasional unit block comes up or an occasional existing cash flow deal comes up, yes, we are doing those, but they are very, very rare. We actually did do a deal the last couple of days. One of the boys picked one up, 8.5% yield on a unit block. Pretty decent deal. But guys, that's 1 in a quarter. So yes, in terms of what we're actually sourcing, commercial is the focus now. Commercial is the play. I've got a lot of my mentoring clients have actually picked up commercial deals in their portfolio and they're bloody loving them. A lot of the time, one commercial deal can actually be carrying 2 or 3 other properties right now from a negative cash flow perspective too. So I got Nathan and Caitlin up that live up in Darwin. I was having a chat with them a couple of weeks ago, and they were raving about one of the deals that we did for them. There was just a cheapy commercial deal that we picked up. These are mentoring clients of mine up there. And we were chatting the other day about how it's carrying like 3 of their other properties in the portfolio because of what they're actually getting as a net cash flow gain out of that asset as well. So right now they are significantly better deals from a cash flow perspective versus the what we can get in residential as well. So we're going to continue punching those and pumping those for the foreseeable future until the time presents itself that residential cash flow makes sense again. For me personally, I don't see that in the next 2 to 3 years at least. So commercial is going to be our focus moving forward for the foreseeable future. Thank you, Harry, and congratulations on your first deal, mate. Oh, Will, you cheeky bugger. Hey, Sammy, 2 questions. A bit of an overreach, I know, but why not? Why not indeed, my friend? With regards to commercial, do you find that residential brokers aren't always well-versed in commercial lending, and is commercial lending more of a specialty? Have there been circumstances where you see clients or yourself requiring 2 different brokers? No. all good brokers should have competency in both asset classes. Commercial isn't that hard. If you're a competent residential broker, you have the ability, you have more than ability to be able to do a commercial loan as well. So I'm almost certain that all of APS recommended brokers are also well versed in commercial as well, and yeah, more than capable of it too. Number two, Victorian purchasers seem to have conveyancers pushing title insurance, which doesn't happen in other states that I'm aware of. In your experience, is Victoria more litigious? We already know it's a very average place to live. And it's something that is worthwhile taking out in your opinion. Love the Q&As. Thanks. Can you tell us if you have fully opened up the SF90 on the open road? I will be honest, my friend. Full 1,000 horsepower. Haven't done the open road yet. I've taken it to 900, and it is fucking wild. You put the boot in, man. All four wheels spin. So yes, no, I'm not yet on that. I'm saving that for the track, or maybe a couple of bundies. Anyway, moving forward. Will, thank you. Victorian purchasers, mate. In all reality, almost all states, almost all conveyancers in all states, in my opinion, man, have almost always not so much push title insurance, but have recommended or at least like put it on the table in front of you as well. Everyone needs to make a decision themselves personally on what they're comfortable with when it comes to title insurance. Now, for me personally, so again, this is not financial advice. Everyone needs to make this decision themselves personally. But for me, I only get title insurance on something I'm intending to hold for the long term, or something that I know might have a little bit of an issue potentially with a boundary, or with maybe some unapproved structures, right? So if I was buying something with potentially an unapproved structure, or maybe a little bit of a dodgy looking structure that I wasn't that sure about, and I thought I was going to hold it for probably like a 3 to 5 year hold period, I probably would get title insurance. If I was going to build on something long term, so like all my Queensland deals, all my WA deals, all the properties I built granny flats on, went through big renovations, built granny flats on, or thought there was anything dodgy on that property, I got title insurance. Anything that was like clean, cleaner, 4x2s, fully renovated properties, no dodgy looking additions, all that sort of stuff. Which, to be honest, guys, isn't that many of my properties. Someone's laughing here who has to manage them. All that sort of stuff. Not normally something I would worry about personally, because there's probably not that much wrong with it, right? Especially something that's, let's say, subdivided and developed in the last 20, 30 years, built on the last 20, 30 years, looks pretty stock standard, especially your 4x2 sort of style homes. All that sort of stuff, guys, is probably pretty straightforward and unnecessary. But again, always a decision for you guys to make yourselves in terms of what makes you feel comfortable. Just remember, it will be added to the cost base. As always, you sell a property, make sure you have your settlement statement that you can give to your accountant, that they can factor in all the costs you paid on the way in. So even though, yes, it's a little bit of a cost now, you will be able to write that off your CGT on the back end as well. You're ripping through tonight, guys. Bloody hell. Thank you, Will. Appreciate it. That was a double as well. How many double questions we had too? I reckon we answered like 40 questions so far tonight. One of my throat's cooked. Aiden, next up. How can I motivate my real estate agent to sell my property quickly without appearing desperate or giving off fire sale vibes? FYI, I'm currently selling 2 properties to recycle debt and go again with APS. Motivate my real estate agent to sell my property quickly. Hey mate, hey Mr. Real Estate Agent, I have a friend and also my parents that are thinking about selling as well. They're really going to base this off the decision, like how well this property performs. I've got complete trust in you, but they're going to make a decision based off how quickly you can sell this property for the dollars that we're chasing as well. So I'm super pumped to be able to give them mad feedback when you sell this property for fucking 700 grand in a week. If you haven't gone to market yet, I would have that conversation around blah, blah, blah. I know there's people that are also looking to sell as well. So they have that motivation of like, they know there's going to be multiple sort of coming through as well. So that should work. Beautiful. Dylan, next up. Big deal. Hey, Sammy, need your advice on my situation. I'm building a property which is expected to be completed in December and potentially will be valued around $1 million with 450K loan. It's not my primary residence. Still living at home. Well done, mate. I like it. I wanted to move into it and get out of home, but after completing SOP, I'm now thinking of selling it and securing some bread and butter deals instead and keep living at home. Question mark. Deal. You're on the right vein, my friend. I reckon the worst thing you could do in this scenario is move into that house. There's two options here. You can sell it. The other thing is, did you do it as an investment or did you do it as your primary residence? That's probably the first question. If you did it as a primary residence or you haven't really made clear what it is, move into it for a month and sell it. Or if you declare it as a primary residence, sell it, no capital gains tax, beautiful. I'm assuming you probably did, considering it's somewhere that you would think about living anyway. Myself personally, I would probably offload that. You haven't said where you live or what that would rent for. I personally would offload that. I would clear the circa $500,000 worth of cash out of that deal. I would go, if you really want to move out of home, actually no. Man, you've already done the delayed gratification. Sell the house, use the cash, go buy whatever you can buy with the servicing you're going to have right now, still living at home. Once you've bought all the deals, leave yourself a little bit of a buffer, go out and rent. It's gonna be your best strategy, mate. Toby, will the Lambo be a special guest on stage at the boot camp? No promises, yes or no, but one of the cars will be there. We'll do a poll. What car do you guys want to see? I know the F8 won't be the SF or the Bull Shark, so I'll throw it in there because it's a classic. The F8, the Bull Shark, the SF, or the Ford Ranger Wild Track 2019 edition that I still have parked out at the farm. You guys tell me. I know what's going to come in hot. All right. I don't know what's going on, guys. All right, Jasper. He's up. Hey, Sammy, in a few podcasts, you mentioned you have bought high risk, rundown properties that you didn't want to pass on to clients. So you buy them yourself and take on the risks of renovating. Can you share some of the lowlights and horror stories of some of these that did not work out? You have shared how some of these high risk, high rewards have paid off, but I'm interested to hear in the realities of some that did not work out. Thank you. Jasper, mate, it's a great question. I've told a couple of these stories before. I have been lucky. Can you share some of the lowlights and horror stories of some of these did not work out? You have shared how some of these high risk rewards paid off. I'm interested to hear the realities some did not work out. Thank you. I can probably think of two in particular that were pieces of shit and were unsalvageable. Can you think of any others? I'm thinking of Beak and Aquarius. Oh yeah, fuck yeah, that was a shocker. Anything else? Yeah. Okay, there's three. Three. Um, there was one that I'll start with that one. There was one over in WA that a young client had been bought for from a buyer's agent, and the house was fucked, and he paid 400, and the absolute most I was willing to pay for this thing was 330, but I would not give it to a client because it was an absolute piece of shit. Um, and the young kid had bought it through a buyer's agent, paid a BA fee, and was paying a sales fee on the way out. Um, and I paid 330. He'd paid 400. Um, Poor bugger. But no one would touch this thing. No one would buy it. And I looked at it. I was like, absolute worst case, I'll demo this thing. Um, I'll demo this thing. Actually, fuck, this is a bad story. I forgot about this, eh? So he bought it through a BA. I paid 330. I went to go through it all, figured out the renovation was going to cost way too much. Then I tried to get my builders on it. It was build cost going to cost way too much. So I was like, fuck this. I'm going to go back to market. And just try and clear it, try and sell it. And the market in the meantime had gone up about 20%. But the thing was, no one was buying land, right? And there was still a house on. The house was a piece of shit. And so I either had to dozer it and sell it, but I was just like, nah, I'm just gonna see if I can sell it to someone else's renovation project. And I was like, oh, I was trying to see. I literally asked all my local agents that were in the area. So I was very heavy in Mandurah for a long time. Mandurah, Rocky, Kwinana, that was our when we first entered Perth, we dominated Southern Perth. It exploded. And I had a lot of really good agent connections there. And I didn't want to sell it to I really didn't want to on-sell it to someone like the kid that had bought it before. And so what I did was I hit up all my local real estate agents and I said, do you know anyone, any local builders that'll buy this thing? I don't want to sell it to a first home buyer. Do you know any builders that'll buy this thing? And it took a couple of weeks and I finally got someone paid. I think they paid 355 for it. And it ended up being another buyer's agent that bought it for a client of theirs, and they paid 355 for it. Um, and yeah, I was told it was builders from Perth or something had come down, had a look at it, and they put a contract on it. It was some name of someone from, it was a couple from like Blacktown or something, and then it was a BA that was on the BA was on it as well, on the contract as well. Was on the email, and it was crazy because like I would see that. So and this is why, guys, there's deals like this, and this is three. And what I've probably bought 150 properties myself in my life for myself, and there's three deals that I've. That's the only deal. Actually, fuck, I didn't lose money on it in the end. I've never lost money on a deal. Um, but that deal was the closest. I think I was pretty much break even. I might have made 10 grand, but if the agent had charged me properly, I probably would have broken even. But he charged me like $1,000 for it or whatever. Um, but yeah, so old mate had bought it for 400 grand. This kid had bought it through another BA, lost $100,000. Between BA fees and stamp duty, he might have even actually lost more than 100 grand. I paid 330, sold it for 355, I think it was. So with my stamps and with I might have five whatever, like with I bought it cash, so I didn't have holding costs on it. But like that deal, and then someone else paid 355. You couldn't renovate the thing. It was absolutely rooted. The roof had delaminated the trusses in the roof, and then there were structural cracks the entire way through it. It was a demo rebuild job. Um, yeah, it was like there was no way. I turned every single way to see if I could make money from this deal. There was no way to make money from the deal. And another BA bought it and sold it to their client as like a 30 grand renovator project or something like. Yeah, it was absolute yeah piece of shit. So that's the first one. That's the worst deal I've ever done. And to be honest, guys, I actually bought it because I felt really sorry for the kid. He couldn't rent it. They had squatters in there. Like it was fucked. And I was like, I can't give it to a client. And I was like, I'll just do it. And that was his debt. So his debt level was that to get out of it. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. And thankfully, I didn't lose money on it. I got him out of it. But the next one, I did a deal in Kingston, in Queensland, in Logan. And I thought this house was renovatable as well. Turns out I've never seen, actually, no, I've seen it one other time where hardwood frames had been eaten out completely by termites. My hardwood framed house at home was completely eaten out. We could see it when I bought it. I didn't lose money on this thing because like I bought it so cheap. It was a double corner block in Kingston, and it was over 800 square meters, so I could subdivide it. But the idea was I was going to be able to keep it. I thought I was going to make a lot more money than I did on it. I thought I was going to be able to keep it renovated, built in under. I was budgeting about 150, maybe 200 grand on it. The boys got in there, and when they started ripping the walls off, they were like, "Holy shit!" Like it was just decimated, and it was no way of fixing it. So I had to knock it down, full of asbestos as well. It probably cost me, I think that cost me about 40 grand from memory. Subdivided it. I actually did a relocatable home. Craig, do you remember his last name? Craig. Client of mine for a few years ago. I can't remember his name. Craig. Fuck. Huh? Govey. Yeah, that's yeah. Craig. That's right. He was in the north side of Brizzy. He was doing a knockdown rebuild. I need to get rid of his house, and he called me and he goes, "Sammy, I'm doing like because they bought a bunch of deals for us and everything, but I was doing a knockdown rebuild on their primary residence because they moved back. He was an international pilot and he moved back. They're doing a build in Brizzy, and he's like, Sammy, I don't know if you'd want anyone that would want this relocatable house. Like we've just bought this block and we need to relocate this house." And he goes, "These guys have offered me this. If you're willing to pay me the same, like I'll just do it with you, man. And like I'd love to help you if like." And it was so weird. It was like a week after that house had been declared, like I'd had to bulldoze it. So I was like, man, I'm your man. Like this thing has literally just happened. So yeah, so we did it, relocated it down. It cost more than we thought it was going to cost. I think in total, I think it probably cost me about the same. And it was like kind of like more like a 4 bed, 2 bath, like sort of weatherboard small thing rather than a high set built in under, which would have been worth more, but not that much difference. I did subdivide the block as well. I bought the block for 250. Let's say the demo placing the new house on it was probably roughly about 200, so all in for about 450. Subdivided and putting probably and then the subdivision on top. Call it 500 neat. 40 for the subdivision, 40 for the demo. You're around about 80. Yeah, it wouldn't have been 170 to move it. Anyway, let's just round it to 500 neat. I'm about to sell that house. So this is the thing, right? I'm about to sell that house for about 750K, and I'll sell the block of dirt for about 450. So I'll net about 1.1 mil for 500k all in. But that one was hairy. That one was like really, really close to being. If the market hadn't done what it did, I bought it like perfectly timed, sort of the bottom of Brizzy at the time that I bought it, and obviously it did 150% growth. So, but that carried me there. Like if it hadn't had any growth, like I would have lost money on that deal or maybe broken even. So, and big thanks to Big Crago as well up in North Brizzy too. And the final deal, guys, that I bought, it was through a shit BA who's no longer at APS who missed all the DD on this deal. And yeah, it was a deal that fell over with a client, and I just went in there and bought it. I pretty much threw a cash offer at this guy. This guy had to sell. He accepted the cash offer. Bought it for 150k. It was a tiny little 2x1, I think it was in Rockhampton, and it wasn't so much that I lost money on it, but it was just like the renovation just kept getting longer and longer and longer and longer, and um if values hadn't grown the way that they had grown, I would have lost money on the deal. But thankfully, again, timing the market properly, the heavy lifting was done from the market growth as well. So, guys, that's a little bit of a run through of example of probably the three worst deals I've ever done. And yeah, there's been a couple of others that have been a little bit hairy, but they're probably the three worst deals I've ever done that caused me a fair bit of a headache from that end. So, Casper, thanks for slowing down the fucking speed. I've been smashing through this bloody Q&A, my friend. Casper or Jasper? Oh, Jasper, sorry, mate. Casper. You get some sun. Sorry, guys, I'm a fucking loose unit today. Let's go. David, hey Sammy, thank you for another Q&A session. We're currently waiting for two APS deals to be presented to us, but with the new changes coming from 1st of October, 5% deposit scheme, how do you see this affecting buyers like us? Will it change the kinds of deals we can access? What's your outlook on the market with these changes? Also, more buyers like to jump in. How quickly can we realistically expect things to move? Guys, I wouldn't stress too much about it. I think we've seen a lot of the heat coming in already that we would have seen as it is. It's not going to change that much. I think the sentiment change that already came in around it is in effect. Yes, I do think it will have a bit of an effect on the market, but I don't think it's going to be like crazy. Like I don't think the market's just going to double again just because this one scheme sort of got brought into. So yes, I think it's going to have a slight impact on the market. For us, it shouldn't change too much from our perspective, our sourcing timeframes and all the rest of the sort of thing, because we're being very careful and sort of capping it. We're being very careful with how we've been doing everything this year to try and make sure you guys aren't waiting very, very long extended periods of time. So, yeah, man, I don't know how long you've been waiting for, brother, but we're definitely quickening the pace of how quickly we're turning deals around right now as well. All right, beautiful. Tommy. Hey, Sammy, I'm sitting on 4 properties at the moment and waiting to complete my first SMSF. I was wondering if I'm getting close to being maxed out with lending and waiting for my bread and butters to grow. I was wondering if I'm getting close to being maxed out with lending and waiting for my bread and butters to grow instead of sitting on the sidelines waiting. I was wondering, would it be worth looking to put a granny on one of the properties? I know building grannies at the moment take you out of the market for some time. If I'm already out waiting for growth, because we play you might recommend. No. Almost definitely not, unless it's a property that you've held for a long period of time and you bought it really, really cheap in a market that makes a lot of sense to build a granny flat. Maybe. Otherwise, it typically doesn't make sense. And if that's the case as well, you're better off selling that deal, using the net profits to then potentially go and like buy another one or two deals, or go slot something into commercial as well. So no, I'm not a fan of grannies in the current market. Build prices have gone crazy, and almost always when we've reassessed deals now, it makes so much more sense to potentially do a sell down, especially if you've seen a lot of growth, and go buy, like I said before, one or two more bread and butters, and go park what's left of it in a commercial deal that actually give you a higher and better net return as well. So no, my answer across that is more than likely a no. All right, sweet. Morgan Rishi, she's back, mate. Hey Sam, will we have enough voice left over after running 2 days of Summit and Bootcamp to also school property Q&A in November as well? I'm greedy and can't get enough of this stuff. Also, shout out to Dan Bareka, who secured us a 7.1% yielding property in August 2025. Unbelievable. Dan Bareka, you're a godsend. Yes, I will have voice left. I did it last year. I'll do it again. Morgan, thank you very much for asking. I'll take my soothers, I'll take my strepsils and my lozenges like I did last time. But yeah, I kind of find for some reason when I'm in the Q&A, when I'm in the webinar with you guys, I yell. I don't know why I'm yelling, but when I'm on stage, I don't think I yell as much. So yeah, I don't know. I'll probably lose my voice more quickly here than I do there. But a big shout out to Big Dan Bareka, mate. You're a legend, and well done on a 7.1% yield in August 2025. Love it. All right, sweet. All right, guys. We're punching through this. Guys, how many? We've done like 40 questions. This is killer. We're smashing it. You guys are machines. Hey, Big Shark. Onto my third. It's Stefan. He's back. Hey, Big Shark. Onto my third APS deal. Thank you and the team for the life-changing results. First two are up 50 to 60% in 18 to 24 months. Beautiful, mate. Question is, my Rocky house is coming up for lease early next year, but is a little run down and is under rented. Should I renovate and sell early next year, or renovate to maximize rent for now? IP2 is in Brownsville. It's a clean and tidy 3x1. I can easily and cost effectively turn to a 4x2. Me and my father can do all the work. PS, can't wait to be a mentor client. You cheeky bugger, you. Mates. Rocky House coming for lease early next year. Little rundowns, under rented. Mate, I probably would assess the market early next year. So if it's coming up for lease, I wouldn't renew it. What I would do is I would let it go, and man, I would do one or two things. You could either give it a spruce up, give it the renovation, and then maybe rent it out for another 12 months, or give it the spruce up and sell it. I would I would let that lease run out, especially if it's under rented and it's run down, because you'd be able to re-let it with the new renovated with a new tenant, blah blah blah, all the stuff, or like renovate it and either re-rent it or sell it. But it's very similar to the question earlier around Parmelia, or the statement earlier around Parmelia and the Southern Perth, sending again. I know it's going pretty hot there at the moment too. So it's not somewhere that I would buy into right now, but it is somewhere that I probably will let run a little bit further. I actually had a conversation around, around this last week around my own properties in that area as well, probably holding for a little bit too, like probably not potentially 6, 12 months, because the market's still sort of firing there. And like we're sort of talking about with these schemes, these sorts of areas sitting there with that lower price point and more first time buyers sort of being able to play in that lower price point as well. Areas like that are going to see some flow on, and I think going to see a little bit of send too. So, Steph, mate, maybe check in early next year when you're going through the renovation. Like I would do the renovation, and then I would check in early next year if you should opt to sell or opt to rent it, and maybe get a bit of a feel for some local agents as well, man. Second question: IP2 is in Brownsville, clean, tidy, 3x1, easy and cost effectively turned into 4x2. Beautiful, do it. Love it, Stefan. Double question as well, you cheeky bugger. I love it. Sam Walker. Hey, Sammy. Hey, Sammy. Got a text from my managing agency in Townsville asking for one evaluation, saying we're seeing a shift in the market. However, we're still achieving great results. Funny that we're seeing a shift in the market, still achieving great results. I've never heard an agent say that in my life. From what I can see, there is still steady growth and have just renewed the lease for another 12 months. Have I missed something here? Mate, same as Rocky, I firmly believe that a lot of these regional Queensland locations are going to benefit from this new grant coming in. If there's one location that probably has the most chance of probably having a decent flow-on effect from the grant because of a larger owner-occupied population, it is probably Townie, because of the army base. You got a lot of people that sort of live there and stuff as well. It's a massive population of 200,000+ people. I wouldn't stress too much, man. In all honesty, guys, I just sold 2 properties in Townie myself. The primary residence, but I'm still holding my stuff there. I still think there's a little bit of good run left in the tank as well. Hope that helps. Sammy Walker. Okay, sweet. Michael, not necessarily a question, but a statement. It would be good to get a session on moving from 5 properties to 10, particularly in light of current interest rates. Every time you extract equity from deal 1 to 5 now to fund deal to 6 to 10, your borrowing is at 100%, which is really escalating the negative cash flow. 30K at a time. Also, please hurry up and update SOP. Oh, you rude bastard. Nah, fair enough, man. Fuck. Yeah, I get you. Please hurry up and update SOP with the updated videos on how to get a 150K, 250K passive income you keep promising us. Ha ha. Give me a couple extra ha-has. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, man, nothing I can say but apologize. And that we're gonna fucking do it. I keep saying it. Where's my whiteboard? Right on the whiteboard. Sorry, guys. My bad. It's been. You know what? I'm gonna go back to, what was his name? Antonio at the very start. He was respectful of my ear, Michael. Why aren't you respectful of my ear? No, I'm only joking. I'm gonna get it done, guys. It's gonna happen. You know what, man? I'm gonna leave that question in there, and we'll cover off that as well. A lot of current interest rates every time you extract equity. Man, it kind of comes down. I'll touch on that one myself though. Now with the first section of the question, Show you track equity. Yeah, I mean it's kind of one of those times where people need to not need to accept, they need to assess is the better word, what level of negative cash flow they can hold. Now if the negative cash flow is going to get to a point that you actually physically genuinely cannot afford to hold that asset, then instead of doing, and this is the thing guys, don't get so hung up on the number of properties. Is something at the right time to potentially just sell out of the property, sell out of the portfolio now? If you could go from five down to three, from a sell down, and then let's say you clear $600,000 or 500 grand, something like that. Bang, we put 300 grand into a commercial asset at circa $1 million, and then you go put 200 grand. You go put 200 grand into, maybe two 88% LVRs, maybe one at a $500,000 house, and maybe a $400,000 unit with a high yield that covers itself. And if you're struggling from a cash flow perspective, or it's becoming more and more difficult, plays like that and being more strategic with what you go through the acquisition piece of and what you go through the consolidation phase of becomes very, very important. Because when you get that piece right and take the appropriate steps back to then be able to take the appropriate steps forward, and remembering that the number of properties isn't the goal, it's actually the net result of what you're chasing. Now, I'm presuming that you're chasing 250K net passive because you said, how do we get to 150? How do we get to 250? So if the goal is actually chasing 250K net passive, we're talking a $4 million portfolio, netting circa, 6%, see, but yeah, just over 6% net on a $4 million cash flow portfolio. So it's just figuring out how we sort of keep escalating, keep building the deals. And if you can do them in bite-sized stages, like maybe your first two cash flow deals are $2 by $1 million deals, or $2 by $1 to $1.2 million deals. And that keeps the oxygen turning over in the portfolio and keeps the cash flow coming through. And we're consolidating at the correct time and reacquiring at the correct time. That may keep the cash flow at a really solid point for you. And just don't touch the equity in those cash flow deals. Keep farming what we can from the growth assets and selling down at the right times as well. They should keep the oxygen flowing in the portfolio from a cash flow position. So it does mean we do need to be more strategic now. Not really. Like it's not being any more strategic than we always have been, because interest rates are down, nearly 1% anyway. So it's like we're getting close to long-term averages. We're pretty much actually at around about long-term averages, around those high fives, low sixes, where almost all the interest rates are right now. So we're in normal territory. We just have to start being really strategic with what we're doing from actual cash flow plays in that continual accumulation, and treating the portfolio like a business. If something is ready to be sold, we sell it. Do we want to hold on for another 6 months to potentially get another 50K? Or with that sell down, could we roll that into 3 other deals in areas that we think are earlier in the cycle? Things like this. Or could we sell it down and go buy one property in an area we think earlier in the cycle and go do a commercial deal as well? It's going to inject some cash flow into the portfolio. So it's really assessing and looking at it like that, and having a really good holistic view of the entire portfolio and where you're in right now. And in all reality, not giving a fuck whether you're at 5 properties, 10 properties, 20 properties, 1 property, whatever it is, not caring about the number of properties that we've got, but actually about what the goal is and what's going to move us towards it better. And that's how I would really look at this thing and strategize my portfolio accordingly. I hope that answers your question. Thank you for calling me out. You should call me out. I keep giving myself uppercuts that I haven't done it yet. I'm going to get it done. This is my promise to you guys, which is actually silly because in the next month, I'm on the road for 2 weeks of the next month. But my promise to you guys is I'm going to get the 120K and the 250K. Do I need to redo the 250K one? Fuck. Give me hearts if I need to redo it. Give me thumbs up if I don't. Wait, can you give me, how do I do a thumbs up? I want to put my own, react. Oh, fuck, I don't know. All right, no. Oh, yeah, I got some thumbs up. I saw more than that. Okay, all right. I'll do them both. Before the next webinar, this is my promise to you. I will record the 120 and the 250. Done. All right. Stop giving me that love hearts. Is coming. Love you all. Chris, Sammy boy. Chrissy boy. Luke B. Fucking, it's still coming in. All right. I love you guys. We're going to get it done. All right. We're going to get it done. I should do it straight after this. I've got that much energy right now for some reason. We'll just keep going. Someone order me some grilled, and actually, I could go with Zambreros right now. Someone order me Zambreros, and we'll keep going. Oh, shit. Here we go. All right. Lukey B. Hey, mate. Currently going through the motions to get pre-approval for our first deal with you guys. Currently have PPOR Loan worth 400K. Oh, sorry, loan of $400,000 worth approximately 1.2 to 1.3 mil. Since doing school of property, really thinking rent vesting is the go. Yes, cuzzy. Problem is there's very limited spots to rent, very scarce. There's a few houses, approximately 600K. Do you mean 600 bucks a week? Would you sell and downsize? Okay. A few houses, approximately 600K. Would you sell and downsize home to free me up some cash, keep building our portfolio? Combined income is 300K. Love to hear your thoughts. See you in November. Lukey B, I will see you in November. Um, Here is my thought and potential recommendation. Because you are going to reward yourself. Oh, fuck, hang on a second. By giving yourself that amount of cash and debt back. I mean, the debt's 400K. So well done, by the way, on having a 800 grand plus of equity that you're going to have in your primary residence. Um, could you look slightly further afield from a rental perspective and potentially pay slightly more for rent than what you were maybe originally thinking? What I found, guys, in all honesty, and I don't know, combined income's $300,000. Dude, $300,000 income. I don't know if you've got a family as well. But 300 grand income with a $400,000 loan with a property worth that amount. I got a thumbs up, so I'm guessing you got a family. Give me one thumbs up for one kid and a love heart for two. Let's see if that works. Oh, I got one kid. Fuck yes. Oh no. Does that mean three? We've got three kids. Okay, I've got three kids. Okay. Yeah, all right, here we go. We're on. Okay, sweet. Don't tell me I got five kids and we're fucked. All right. Okay, sweet. We've got three kids. We've got 300K income. You've got the 400K debt on the 1.2 mil primary residence. My honest opinion, man, is could you look slightly further afield to get yourself a rental in an area that's maybe slightly better than you're thinking? Because the masses are in the 800 to $1,000 a week and down these days, right? Like let's be honest, you can't rent that much that's that good for anything less than 800 to $1,000 a week, unless you're renting a unit or unless you live in a shithole like Melbourne where rents are fucked and really low. Other than that, presuming you live outside of Melbourne and rent is really, really cheap, um, what I would do is look slightly further afield, look something in a nice area. Um, that you could maybe pay slightly more for. And man, just change the psyche a little bit that it's okay to pay slightly more for a rental. And if you work that out and actually run the numbers as well, it probably will work out almost the same. But the really cool thing, it might almost work out slightly more than the $400,000 loan. But that's okay. Again, work this out with the broker, but it's okay. Because if we kept it, we need to recycle the equity out, which then stuffs your position, right? Instead of doing that, we are retaining we're getting the debt back. Okay, let's say we eliminate it or cost slightly more because we're renting a slightly better house. But now all the debt is going to be going into trust structures, and we're going to have all that cash back rather than equity releasing and debt and debt, building up. Instead, we're going to now dump all that cash into trust structures. We're going to use that to then start leveraging and building the portfolio. And we're also going to isolate all those debt, all that debt within trust as well, which means when we equity release, not equity releasing in personal name, we're equity releasing in trust structures. So I personally don't believe you guys should downsize at 600,000. I reckon you should almost go up a little bit in what you're wanting to rent. I mean, man, if you live in Melbourne, you're probably going to get a great deal for what something will rent for that amount. I don't know where you live, man. But I would go up a little bit in terms of class, see if you can get something that you guys really like. And yeah, man, let us know how you go with that. And if you speak to the broker about that, like on dollar for dollar of like what's in your personal name versus not, it will affect you a tiny bit. But then moving forward with trust structures, you're going to be in a significantly better position. So yeah, man, I'm a big believer in that, and I'm a big fan of that. And I want you to give me some feedback when you go looking somewhere a bit nicer, and I get the brownie points from the missus because you got a better house. Sorry, guys, I've apologized that many times for being a cooked unit tonight, but it's true. The kids will love a house too. All right, cool. Something pretty naughty sounding out there. All right, beautiful guys. Jaden, I got next up. Hey, Sammy, love your SOP app with Nick about tax implications for equity releases. It's our first time doing a refi to bring Trust A to a higher LVR, which gives 200K in equity uses deposits for two purchases in third trust. Would you a loan agreement with Trust A and C, or would you pay down this equity in Trust A to yourself beneficiary and contribute to Trust C? Participating in doing a loan agreement with more like I'm anticipating that doing a loan agreement would likely make trust C more negative. Trust A was your loan agreement to trust A and C? Where's B? Or you trust A and then you're putting it over into C. Man, I'm gonna be honest with you here. I'm only 2 hours in. I'm pretty cooked trying to figure out the trust A, trust C, vitamin A, B, C. I don't know exactly where we're going with this thing. I'm just going to say take that one to Nick, or take that one to Carnegie and just get them to set it up the way that they would anticipate or would recommend setting it up to be 100% correct, and do that. Yeah, because you're going to equity release it out. Dude, you're probably doing a loan agreement between trust A and trust C, but this is an accounting question, guys, just to make sure it's 100% correct. I know where you're sort of going with it, but again, even if I give you the directive here, they're going to give you the exact answer. So just take any of that sort of stuff with a loan agreement style, guys. Run it through with the accountant from that perspective, just to be 100%. And because they need to document it anyway. Dylan Brunette, go deal. Go deal. All right, sweet. Why is everyone cooked tonight? This is hectic. All right, sweet. Mark Adamson. Hey, Sammy, mate. Currently pre-approved for properties 1 and 2. Aim to lock both in before Christmas. What clear triggers should I wait for before going after property number 3? Should I wait to strip equity or, if possible, use cash as a deposit? Thank you. Mate, if you've got the cash to do it, my personal opinion is the sooner you pick up more deals, the sooner you got more properties that you can tap for equity to do more deals. The other thing to remember is you wait till after Christmas to buy another deal. Just remember, December, January are the slowest months in the Australian property market. So pretty much eliminate them from your psyche. If you had enough to do one more deal, my recommendation right now for anyone that had enough cash to do one more deal, even if you could scrape a 350, 400, 450K deal, go pick up a unit right now, or like jump on board. We got some absolutely cracky unit markets we're acquiring right now. Just remember the strongest performing market in Australia last year was Perth housing market. The next 3 was Perth units, Brisbane units, Adelaide units. If you know where to pick the right unit markets, and you can get this tremendously wrong, but if you know where to pick the right unit markets at the moment, you can make some excellent money. If you had some cash left over right now, I would be jumping on board. I would be getting in line for unit deals, which we actually are sourcing quite quickly at the moment as well. And I would get another one of those in the portfolio to keep growing, keep putting in the portfolio too. Heaps of APS crew have got him in there. Have got him in their portfolios as well. And yeah, that's if it was me, man, he had enough left over to do that. They're also got decent yields on them too, so it's not going to affect your cash flows too much. Regardless of anything, mate, I would definitely look to use cash deposit for an extra deal, and then use the School of Property portfolio tracker. Put it in there. When did you settle it? speak to the broker about it. Is it go from the settle or valuation? Probably going to go from settlement. Sweet. Settlement date was the 24th of September. Bang. In 90 days, it's this date. I'm going to hit the broker up to order a valuation, and then equity release. Let's go. Boom. Yes, Marky. Love it. All right. M. Blink twice if it's barley for commercial. All right, guys, there's so much. I knew it was last week's question. All right, Kelly, last month's. All right. Oh, Daniel, I apologize, mate. You're seeing me on my most cooked occasion. Hey, Sammy, new to ASP. Actually, you're not. I don't know what ASP is. Do you think Australia will see a real estate price drop as a whole with a real estate cycle within the next 3 to 4 years? No. I think stock is too tight. I know people are talking about a lot of different things. I personally believe stock is too tight. Housing crisis is too out of control. Too much grants, too much stimulus, too much everything. I mean, if we saw a dip or we saw a drop, and you can't no, the Australian housing market is not a whole, right? Like it's not a whole country. Could we see markets that do a 10 to 20% dip? Yeah, 100%. But are they 150% up from the bottom? Probably. It's part of the equation, part of the cycles. It'll be interesting to sort of see what happens. To be honest, man, 3 to 4 years away, in all honesty to me right now, 3 to 4 years away, there's been so much happening at such a rapid pace in the Australian property market. 3 to 4 years away for me right now is too far away to call what's going to happen. Except that we're going to have a lot of investors almost on the stage by 2030, which is almost in 4 years. Sweet. Guys, we're fucking hammering questions tonight. Sweet. Tom, hey Sammy, I've recently moved out of PBOR and it's now renting for 1,200 per week on the Gold Coast. Nice. I'm now renting for 675 per week. I'm sitting on 4 bread and butters, and this property is now generating a cash flow. Would you still recommend selling the primary residence on the GC, or do you think I should hold on to it for cash flow? Mate, if your house is renting for 1,200 bucks a week on the GC, I'm guessing it's probably worth in the vicinity of 2 million bucks. Now, if you were to go and buy a commercial deal for 2 million bucks at a 6% net, I mean, that at 1,200 bucks a week, how good's my maths? 10 grand, 52, around about 62 grand. I'm going to stuff this. Around about 62 grand, 63 grand, something like that. 1,200. There you go, 62 and a half. Bang on the money. 62 and a half grand versus you go and buy a commercial deal at 2 mil, netting 6%, that's 120,000. You got double the income from the same price of the asset. Just to reiterate that, because I know I said that really quickly. A residential house on the GC is renting for 1,200 bucks a week. My estimation that would be worth around about $2 million. If you were to go and swap that said $2 million asset for a said $2 million commercial asset, that $1,200 a week on the residential is $62,000 a year. The 6% net on the $2 million commercial is $120,000 a year. Almost exactly double. To answer your question, Tom, no, I do not think you should hold on to that property for cash flow. But I do love you. Next up, Gavin Height. Hey, Sammy, I just heard you mention moving onto a second trust for property number 3. Just wondering why that is. I have 2 bread and butters in a trust and planning to strip equity and get a 3rd bread and butter early next year. Moving to a second trust property number 3. To retain borrowing, isolate borrowing capacity, not have too much exposure in a singular trust. Some people do multiple properties per trust. I personally do 4 properties per trust. I have a much lower debt level than any of you, and a higher equity position as well. So hence why I can put 4 properties per trust. If you're trying to scale, I would recommend 1 to 2 properties per trust. If the borrowing isn't going to be impacted by doing 2 properties per trust, I would recommend 2 properties per trust. If the borrowing is going to be impacted by 2, I would do the 1, which leaves you room for equity release. But in your case here, you've got enough for 2 and potentially a 3rd. You want to leave enough for the 3rd because that's actually your equity release position that you can equity strip and then roll it into another trust and not get capped with servicing. So don't look at the cost of a trust structure, a corporate trust structure, as something to be afraid of. It's something that we want to embrace and isolate the debt and keep stretching and building your serviceability rather than something you need to worry about. So that's the reason why, my friend. Will. Hey, Sammy, thoughts on doing a syndicate with a few people who are already APS clients instead of going solo with your partner, and if your goals and values are aligned? We've talked about doing a syndication, and we're working in the background on syndication in commercial. Outside of this, I don't agree with it. If you have the ability to invest by yourself or with your partner and go out there and actually invest, goals, values, everything can align today. What's going to be in 5 or 10 years? I don't believe in it. Your partner's like, yes, obviously your partner, mate, that's sweet. But outside of that, man, you never know where your head's going to be in 1, 2, 5, 10 years, or where those other people are going to be as well. I would strongly recommend not doing it with other people outside of it. If you had no other option in the world and you had to do it, you could do 1 deal to get yourselves off the ground or something like that. But otherwise, if you had the ability to do it, I wouldn't do it. I would go on your journey. They can go on their journey, and you guys can talk about it and have a great, powwow about it and be support for each other. But unless you 100% actually need each other to do a deal, I would not do it. Whoa, we got so many questions written in. Jesus. Whew, guys, I'm about 55 questions in, and I have 63 unopened. Jesus. This is crazy. You guys are on fire tonight. You guys are absolutely on fire. Mickey D, I've got to hit your question, my friend. Guys, I got to wrap this soon. Bloody hell. We're going crazy here. Hey, Sammy, brand new to SOP after months on the fence. Loving it so far. Love it, mate. I was hoping to catch you in Melb's, the Equity Mates live recording, but I'm on the wait list. Is that thing sold out? Mate, Mickey D, let me pull some strings, brother. I'll see if I can get you there. That's mad, man. How good. I'll do my best. You can go as my +1. I'm going to leave that and not say anything else about to go somewhere else with that. I have 3 properties, but looking at next steps as I don't want to get stuck with strategy. Still working through modules, but I have 100K cash and possibly some equity to release and thinking about going straight to APS and running SOP in tandem and make sure I'm up to speed. Is this enough and is this a good idea? Pretty sure I'll be told to sell at least one. All right, give me one sec, man. 3 properties, but looking at next steps. I don't want to get stuck with strategy. Still working in modules, but 100K cash, possibly some equity. Straight APS and running SOP in tandem. Yeah, man. 100 grand, we can do something with you for sure. If you're struck with borrowing, you need a good broker. We can definitely help you with that. And then, yeah, 100 grand to get into something good at the moment. We can make that work, mate. And there's things we can do as well, guys. This is for everyone's heads up and everyone's awareness too. There's things we can do right now. To help with if there's some stuff you need that has you need a bit of a higher yield on an asset as well to be able to get some things through. Obviously, this isn't a promise across all deals, across all asset types, across all price points. But if your biggest sticking point right now is not having a high enough yield into what you're trying to get into, there's a few different sort of properties that we're sourcing at the moment that may be able to fit the brief with that. Shout out to Dan Brecker before with his 7.1% yield. Love you, Mickey D. All right, sweet. Anthony, next up. Hey, Sammy, I've just put an original investment property pre-APS on the market to retire debt. When it settles, we will update all our finances and maximize our borrowing power. We still have a PPOR. Don't say it, my wife will divorce me. Okay, shit. Oh, shit. Sorry, bro. I said that. We'll repaying half our PPOR mortgage with an offset increase our borrowing capacity. Oh. Okay, honest feedback. I was going to joke around the divorce and like buying a Ferrari. What's more important? We know what's more important, the wife. Speak to your broker about it. Do you need to sell? Do you need to pay down debt to be able to do it? Just remember, we're paying half our mortgage to offset, increase the borrowing power. I would speak to the broker about it. What do you actually need to do to be able to keep moving forward? If you don't need to, don't pay it down, dude. Keep it, use it as capital, go throw it in a trust structure, isolate that debt, keep moving it forward. It depends how much you're going to have to play with as well. And like, is it really worth paying off the primary residence? Like for me, would I pay down the primary residence? If I didn't need to, would it be a better thing to pay down the primary residence? Let's say you put 300 grand into that, or go chuck 300 grand into a commercial deal in a trust structure that's actually going to generate an income. I would prefer the extra asset that's also going to generate an extra income rather than just debt reducing the primary residence, which is a non-tax deductible debt. So no, but you need to work it out with the broker as to what actually is possible in that scenario, in that example as well. So yeah, man. Have you sent the missus the rent vesting podcast? I think you should do that. You should also send her a photo of a Ferrari. Sweet. All right, Jaden, he's back. Hey, Sammy, love your work. When you say commercials at around 6% yields, are you saying that at a certain LVR, assuming no debt on it? So when we talk property, guys, and we talk yields, I don't care about an LVR. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. 6% net yields are all in relation to the actual value of the asset. So an asset could have 100% debt, it could have 50% debt, it could have 0% debt. None of that, the net yield does not care at all what debt level is against it, because the net yield is in direct correlation to the value of the asset. That's it. Thanks, Jaden. Perfect. Oh, if we're talking about actual net cash flow position, which wasn't the question, but I'm presuming that's actually what you're talking about. If that was the question in terms of what the actual net cash flow would be, the net yield, if we're talking about net cash flow, then yes, I would be assuming no debt on it. If we're talking about net cash flow, we get to the back end, we pay it out. $1 million property, 6% net yield, $60,000. $2 million property, 6% net yield, $120,000. $5 million property or $5 million commercial portfolio, 6% net yield, no debt, $300,000. Love it. Anthony, hey Sam, what is the best price point for commercial now? Interest rates have dropped, and would you do a 100% lend with equity if you had 7 bread and butters to strip from? I personally would assess the 7 bread and butters and see, is there something in there that is at the right point in its cycle to sell? And do I think it's potentially not going to have any more growth? If the answer to that question is yes, I would look at, could I clip 1 or 2 deals? get some debt back, clear some debt, get some cash in, and go and buy it with a chunky deposit. And do I maybe have some left over to maybe bump in another one or two bread and butters too? That is what I would do. If you really didn't want to sell anything and everything was performing really, really well, and it was still growth in the tank ahead, if you were dead sure there was growth in the tank for all 7 of those properties, then yes, I would equity strip, do it at 100% lend. And when the time's right to sell those deals, then you could debt reduce a little bit off that commercial asset as well. But just remember, guys, you do a commercial asset at 100% LVR, like it's going to be maybe slightly positive. Like the whole idea is obviously acquiring an asset, especially if we can do it with like a chunky cash deposit from like a profit of a sale or something. That's what's going to give you a really nice cash flow, really nice cash flow from that perspective too. All right, beautiful. Can't remember what. Do you remember what Gavin's question originally was? Just give more context on my question. The property's running a combined annual net loss 20K. Not sure. Rich Tomo, property's also due for rental review. Blah, 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 blah. Sorry, guys. You need to throw it in. Guys, what I would recommend, right, in future Q&As, write your questions down before, like in like Google, in like Microsoft Word or in emails or whatever. Write your question down, like just to make sure everything's within it. Because the issue is, guys, if you send me a question in, like I've got here at between 6:35 and 6:40, I've got like 12 questions there. So you can imagine when you throw them on at the very start, I'm getting peppered. Like there's in that first like 10 minutes, I get like 50 questions. So just like put a little bit of time maybe into it beforehand, type it out, and then just think about anything else you might need to throw in there, or what else might I ask? All the stuff that I'm always like, oh, I need this and this, and like, because I really want to give you guys as much value as I can with each question. And the issue is if you punch it in when I answer it half an hour or an hour later, like we're 60 questions down, and I'm obviously not going to get that info. So please try and put that little bit extra in there, guys, so I can give you guys the best answer the best answer possible. Guys, I can feel my voice going. We're 2 hours in. I've got 3 questions left for you. Actually, I'm going to jump over to this one. Jude, I need you 5. 2 from over here. I'll get from there. How much do you need to get into a 350 to 400K unit at the moment? From Jude. We'll go to 400 and we'll work back. 400K, let's say you do it at 90% LVR, you need $40,000 deposit. Or if you do it at a 88% LVR, you need $48,000 plus BA fees, plus stamps. Talking circa 90 grand, 85 to 90 grand. Call it 90 grand for a 400K. Call it 80 grand for a 350K unit / house at the moment. Yeah, 80, 90K. All right, beautiful. Anon, here we go. Oh, there's another couple of good questions here. Oh, a bit of juice, guys. Give me the juice. Do you want the juice? So we keep going? I haven't got anything. No, I think I'm going to stop. All right, guys, that's it. Oh, they all start coming in. All right, give me a Strepsil. Give me a glass of water. Oh, here we go. All right, sweet. Simon, guys, this has got some juice. Oh, I love all the love hearts still going. All right, beautiful. Hey, Sammy, love your work. Congrats on life, mate. Thank you, Simon. Smashed the SOP course out in 3 weeks and loved it. My question is about strategy evolves as prices climb. 2 to 5 years ago, the sweet spot was 200 to 400K. Now it's more like 500K plus for houses. Looking ahead, if we buy at 500K today and sell in 2 to 5 years for, say, 800K, will there still be enough quality stock at the 500K entry point to roll equity into? Or is the next entry level more likely going to have shifted to 6 to 700K, making the buy, grow, sell, repeat model harder? In other words, as prices rise, does the strategy naturally stretch timeframes or require different tactics to keep delivering similar results for someone on or around 150K income? Also, I've noticed APS is now open to select unit apartment opportunities, whereas a couple of years ago, these were mostly a no-go. Is that shift mainly a response to today's market conditions, affordability squeeze, rental demand, construction cost blowouts, and how do you see that fitting into the buy, grow, sell strategy over the next few years? FYI, I signed my first APS contract today and fucking pumped to get started. Yes, Simon. Oos, you are. All right, sweet. Yes, it does change the strategy a little bit from that perspective. First thing I'll jump into is units. Now, guys, if we rewind 2 to 3 years ago, as you're sort of saying there too, 2 to 3 years ago, literally rewind to the start of last year, mid last year, we were doing deals, let's say 12 to 15 months ago. We were still doing deals in the $200,000 for houses, right? Um, Now those houses are worth $200,000 more, right? People call bullshit on me saying, "Oh, a house will grow by 80% in 5 years." Mate, fucking, we've got half these deals that have done 80% in a year or in 2 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's maybe not a year. Let's say 2 years. There's some crazy results with stuff like that. Like, that's how some of these markets have genuinely exploded. Now, what I would say is that my honest gut feel is I do believe the baseline of the market is moving towards a five to $600,000 equilibrium. Um, I do believe that is where it's going to sit. I think in the next couple of years we're going to go to a bit of an equilibrium state where most of the markets sort of like bottom out a little bit and calm down. Some areas, as always, will keep running, but I think there's going to be different areas that run, and there's going to be a bit of a bottoming across the board across most of the capital cities as the market resets itself. In that time frame, I believe we literally are just going to set at a new standard now in terms of pricing in the Australian housing market. But the thing we've got to remember, and I know what you're saying there, it might slow down the amount of accumulation, and I do agree with you. But incomes over that time frame have also increased. Like if we talk about maybe if we don't talk about the last like 2 years, but if we talk about like the last 10 years or the last 15 years from when I started, like incomes have increased to a pretty substantial amount as well from when the norm was, $300,000-400,000 for blue collar Australia. Now we might be talking blue collar Australia might be $500,000-600,000, right? Let's say it was 2 to 4, now it's 5 to 6. I honestly believe that we will be able to continue building and scaling portfolios regardless. It will take a slight pivot to the strategy. And if anything, guys, like we can still do aggressive things when it comes to structuring, with lending, with different deals we pick up, even with renovation strategies in time if required to force a bit of value as we go through and do deals too. I don't think it's going to completely kill the journey, but I do agree with you there, Simon. It might slow it down a little bit. But at the end of the day, 500 grand property going to 800,000 or a 600 going to 850, 900, $1 million bucks, something like that. It's easier. It's quite similar, especially if they're the same sort of, style of area or whatever, but it's a different cycle moving at a different time. It's going to be very, a $500,000-600,000 asset doing 70-80% worth of growth is easier, or is probably around about the same as those 300-400 grand properties doing 120-130%, which ends up at the same net dollar figure, right? The other thing to take into account is we've also seen about 50% rental growth in that time frame as well. So anyone on here that bought in Perth with me back in 2020, 21, 22, all the rest of the sort of thing, we're renting our properties for $350 a week. Yeah, we bought them for 300-400 grand a year. Sorry, 300-400 grand, and they're renting for 350-400 bucks a week. Now they're all renting at 600-700 bucks a week. So the rental return has also grown in line with it, which also makes serviceability easier. So just remember, like it's not as if our incomes have stayed the same and the rents have stayed the same, but the prices have doubled. Incomes have increased, rents have significantly increased as well. In Perth, in a 2-year window, we saw about 60% rental growth over a 2-year window as well. So I believe that will support continued growth in the market and also continued growth in our portfolios too. But I think, like in all reality, I genuinely think it's probably easier now to get to say 150K passive than it was like 10 to 15 years ago. Less properties, literally less properties required to get to the same level of deals to achieve the same net passive income result as well. So it might take slightly longer, but then at the same time, if we need less deals to as much of the heavy lifting to achieve the same net result, I think we're still going to get into a really, really good position. I still think it's very, very possible moving forward. It might just take a slight tweak, from that perspective too. But I hope that makes sense, guys. I hope that's, and that's me talking honestly from where I see it going to, because I'm always looking at this stuff as well. Obviously, your strategy and you guys getting to your success and my staff and you guys are, they're the most important things to me to see you guys get these results and get these results in your own portfolios as well. I'm very committed to making sure that we can continue to achieve this moving forward too. So I hope that answers your question, man, and makes sense. All right, I got one final question in the log, guys, before I'm going to bang out a final couple of questions in the Q&A box over here as well. From Anon. Love your mission of retiring 500 people by 2030. It's an epic legacy to leave behind, changing people's lives and their future generations. Personally pretty set on being one of the 500, but also would like to keep financial achievements private and would want to avoid being on stage, mostly because I'm a business owner. I don't want my team to know, even though it will be coming from personal hard work and sacrifice. I have a fear of the Australian tall poppies. What are your thoughts on this? Mate, my honest thought is that you're going to be on the stage in front of 500, alongside 500 plus other average Australians that have gone out there and achieved something significant. I honestly would tell anyone that has got tall poppy syndrome and tries to chop you down to fuck off. And it is what it is. And you've done what you've done, and no one can take that from you. There's a reason why I don't care what anyone thinks in the world about what I do or what I've done or anything like that as well. And it's because I'm the only person that's gone out there and done this. No one has done this for me. So, mate, if you're standing on the stage there and you've retired yourself and you've built yourself a passive income, no one can take that from you. And this is the change that I honestly believe that we're bringing here. And I'm seeing it across not only myself and obviously what we're doing, all the change, but people are trying to achieve something different. Yes, Australia's full of tall poppies. Fuck them. Who cares? At the end of the day, mate, they're going to be miserable for the rest of their fucking lives, and you're going to be retired at 20, 30 on whatever income you're chasing and whatever you're looking to build there as well. So, guys, I know I've been a bit aggressive and I've been a bit loose and everything tonight, but fuck anyone that is not on the same journey as you and doesn't want this stuff for you, because they're not your friends. If they're not your friends, who gives a fuck about them? Cut them out, get rid of them, don't worry about their opinions. Mate, if you're on the stage in 2030, you don't need to go back into work if you don't want to. You know, and that's the best part of it, mate. You don't need to go back into work. Or if you're going back into work and someone's a tall poppy, fuck them off and fire them, because it doesn't matter. Because you're fucking retired, mate. You've replaced your income. Seriously. Fuck these people off, mate. That's the easiest way I would put it. And I feel your pain. And I mean, you've even written a non in here. That's how much you don't want to bloody get called out here on this thing. But guys, anyone that's like that in your life, anyone that's tall poppy, anyone that tries to cut you down, fuck them off. They're no good. They're no good. Anyone that's trying to hold you back from your fullest and your best potential does not deserve the oxygen in your vicinity. They do not deserve the energy between your ears or any of your brain power or brain space. Get them out of your life. I guarantee you the growth you'll see off the back of it will surpass anything you've seen before or done before as well. So, guys, I know I'm getting a bit fired up about this stuff, but, mate, honestly, do your thing, man. Keep doing your thing. I want to see you on the stage in bloody 2030. I know that, mate, there will be that many people that be that nervous getting up there and telling their piece, or no one's gonna need to tell their piece if they don't want to. But it will literally be a celebration of people who have done what pretty much no one else ever does in their bloody lives. And that's replace their incomes and be able to live a life on their bloody terms. And that's something to be celebrated, man. So you got 5 years to bloody think about it, but I hope I see you on the stage in 2030, mate. I hope you don't I hope you get up there. I kind of feel like we should just finish on that note. I love you guys. We're going to punch the best questions from this into the next Q&A. There's so many of them left. I've lost my voice. I hope you guys have all enjoyed tonight's session. I know I've been a cooked unit. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you enjoy the cooked unit and you want to see more of it, I'll see if I can re-emulate this next month. But guys, 30th of October, we'll be back for the next one. And then we're obviously going to have the summit as well a couple of weeks after that. I love you all. I can't remember the dude. I think it was Michael that called me out. I'm going to get you 2 sessions in there as well before the October 30th webinar. And until next week, guys, we'll see you next month, guys. I will speak to you all very, very... Oh, hang on a second. What's up? Guys, tickets nearly sold out for the boot camp. If you're going to come to the boot camp, make sure you jump. We did the re-release. I think the summit's almost sold out as well. So if you guys are going to come, if you're wanting to come to the summit, the boot camp, all the rest of it, make sure you get your tickets, guys. I want to see you there. We're going to do some massive we're going to do some crazy stuff on stage as well, guys. Don't forget, I'll be strategizing portfolios on stage as well, same as I did last year, writing it up, tearing it down, all the rest of it. Remember, you guys are in the boot camp, so when we put it up on the board, I'm going to strategize it exactly how I would, no holds barred. So make sure you're there. I'll do a massive session of strategy sessions in the boot camp. I promise you guys that. Haven't bought your tickets, buy your tickets. Make sure. I want to see you guys there. And old mate Anon with this thing, I want you to come up to me and speak to me and say, I was the guy that sent that in, because I'm going to hold you accountable and we're going to see you on that stage. You're going to be on the stage with me in 2030. Love you guys. Have a great night.